Chapter 1188. There's a Divine Realm Elder. Then what do we do? Lu Rilon was shocked. Usually, the Hall of Heritage was guarded by elite soldiers of the Fulfillment Realm. The Elders of the Divine Power Realm would never appear in this place. After all, the things they wanted had already been obtained from Inheritance Palace. There was no need for them to come here all the time. However, if Inheritance Palace had this many Divine Realm Elders, then their plan this time would completely fail. After all, once they alerted the Soul Palace Elders, they would not be able to escape. No problem, I can easily get rid of them. Xia Ping patted his chest, indicating that this was not a problem. Easily get rid of them? Don't joke around. That's a transcendent realm expert we're talking about. Even if you have the strength to defeat one, can you guarantee that nothing will happen? Lu Rilon said impatiently. We're in the enemy's lair right now. If there's even the slightest movement, countless experts will attack us from all directions. When that time comes, the entire Soul Palace will be our enemy. She believed that the experts in Inheritance Palace were only the beginning. The scariest thing was the helpers that would follow. That was the true fatal reason. They could not act recklessly. No problem, getting rid of them is easy. Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. He walked straight into Inheritance Palace and knocked on the door. Suddenly, knocking sounds could be heard from the Hall of Inheritance. This madman. Lu Rilon wanted nothing more than to grab Xia Ping and beat him up. Even if he wanted to die, he shouldn't do this. Yet he stupidly knocked on the door. Wasn't this clearly letting the enemy find him? They were here to steal the inheritance of the Soul Hall. Thus, they should be hiding their tracks. Yet right now they were acting so courteously, and even went up to knock on the door. It was as if they were afraid that others wouldn't know how this foolish outer realm fiend managed to survive until now. Who is it? Who the fuck is knocking on the door? Don't you know our elders are in Inheritance Palace, trying to comprehend a secret technique? If you interrupt our comprehension, and cause our souls to be injured, can you at least bear the responsibility? With a paw, the door of the Inheritance Hall was immediately opened. An old man in a gray robe rushed out. His beard was curled up in anger, and his face was full of anger. It seemed that he wanted to beat up the person who knocked on the door. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The 5 to 6 Divine Ability Realm old men, who were comprehending with their eyes closed, also widened their eyes in anger as they looked out of the door. They had clearly ordered that no one was to disturb them at this time. But there just had to be someone who didn't know the rules and came to the Inheritance Hall to cause trouble. Wasn't this courting death? Fortunately, they had just begun to comprehend the Inheritance Steel's secret spiritual technique. If they had entered a deeper level of comprehension, they would have been scared to death by such a shock. One could imagine how furious they were right now. Elder, I'm sorry. I've just arrived and wanted to take a look around the Inheritance Hall. I'm really sorry for disturbing you. Xia Ping said casually. He held Lu Rilon's little hand and walked into the Inheritance Hall as if it was his own home. TSK. So this is the legendary Soul Palace Inheritance Palace. It doesn't look like much, not even as big as my home. The decorations are a bit too simple and crude, not at all dazzling in gold or jade. There's no grandeur at all. He commented on the place. In reality, the Inheritance Hall wasn't big. It was just a large hall with empty surroundings. There was only a massive black stone tablet standing in the center of the Inheritance Hall. There were countless ancient words engraved on it, seeming to contain the mysteries of the universe. Lines after lines appeared like galaxies, as if the entire universe was hidden within, deep and unfathomable. Tour. The few Soul Palace elders present were so angry their faces turned green. Just where did this playboy come from? What did he think Soul Palace Inheritance Hall was? Was it a place he could visit whenever he wanted? Moreover, he looked down on the Inheritance Hall's simple appearance, saying it wasn't as big as his own home. Motherfucker. The most important thing in Inheritance Hall was the Inheritance Tablet. That was the true foundation of a super faction. It was the torch that allowed Soul Palace to be passed down for countless tens of thousands of years. What did it have to do with the size of this place? Moreover, he had even brought a woman with him to visit this place. He had even walked in impolitely, not caring whether these Soul Palace elders agreed or not. Seeing this bastard's attitude, he seemed to treat Soul Palace as his own home, bringing his own woman to tour. He didn't respect this extremely important place of Soul Palace at all. Perhaps, if they didn't mind, this fellow might even want to do it with the woman here. Bastard! Who told you could tour around Soul Palace? Which idiot allowed you to come here? Don't you know that trespassing into Inheritance Hall is a heavy crime? A light punishment is 100 years in prison, and a heavy punishment is death on the spot. The gray-robed elder stared angrily at Xia Ping. The other elders were also very angry, their faces dark. This happened too suddenly, and Xia Ping's actions were too brazen. Adding on the fact that Soul Palace hadn't welcomed an intruder in thousands of years, they didn't expect this fellow in front of them to be an outer realm evil devil. Is it that serious? I'm a person with a backer. Xia Ping indicated that his background was very deep. As expected, he was a playboy. Seeing this fellow act as if it was a matter of course, the gray-robed elder and the others were so angry their lungs almost exploded. In Soul Palace, who didn't have a backer? Any random rock that smashed someone could be a Soul Palace elder, or a direct descendant of a large family with a noble status. With just this brat, he dared to be arrogant in front of Soul Palace elders, bragging about having a backer and being unrestrained. This fellow was probably used to acting like a tyrant in his own family. Even after coming to Soul Palace's Great Palace, he still didn't change his personality. He even thought that Soul Palace's Great Palace could let him do whatever he wanted. Back my ass. I want to see which bastard dares to be this arrogant and act as if nothing happened after breaking Soul Palace's rules. Even if you're the son of Soul Palace's palace master, you can't escape today. No one can save you. The gray-robed elder and the others were bursting with anger. They had already decided to heavily punish this playboy. Otherwise, if everyone did this, what rules would Soul Palace have? Just at this moment, Xia Ping suddenly attacked. He took out a glass bottle from his spatial ring and smashed it on the ground. Immediately, a red mist emanated from the glass bottle, quickly spreading through the entire Inheritance Hall. This red mist was the cultivation-dissolving poison Xia Ping obtained from Chun Wei. This poison had the effect of dissolving a person's strength, and it could also quickly take effect. What? Chapter 1189. Not good. This mist is poisonous and can't be inhaled. The gray-robed elder and the others were shocked. They immediately felt that after inhaling the poison mist, their strength quickly disappeared. It was as if all their years of cultivation had disappeared. Such an abnormality terrified them. As divine ability realm cultivators, they were already used to overturning mountains and seas. After inhaling the poison mist, all their years of cultivation disappeared, and they became ordinary people. Such a change terrified them to the extreme. However, this cultivation-dissolving poison's medicinal effects were incomparably tyrannical. If they inhaled even a little, they wouldn't be able to escape without an antidote. Even divine ability realm cultivators were the same. Dong dong dong. Their bodies were extremely weak, and they were like dead fish that lacked water. All of them fell to the ground, and they didn't have the slightest bit of strength in their bodies. Even raising a finger was extremely difficult. No, you're not from Soul Palace. Who are you? At this moment, the gray-robed elder and the others all stared angrily at Xia Ping. How could they not know that the two people in front of them weren't Soul Palace playboys? True playboys didn't have the guts or strength to attack Soul Palace elders. This fellow did not come to this place by accident. He had come for them, for the Hall of Inheritance. However, it was already too late for them to realize this. You don't need to know. Have a good sleep. Xia Ping instantly attacked. Immediately, a dozen figures appeared in this space, and quickly arrived beside the gray-robed elder and the others. With a light hand knife, they struck their necks. With a putong sound, they immediately fell unconscious on the ground. They would need at least 3 days to wake up. All right, it's all done now. Xia Ping clapped his hands. He was very satisfied. He even closed the door of the Inheritance Hall, so that the soldiers who passed by would not notice what happened inside. Lu Rulan was shocked. One had to know that those were 5 or 6 divine ability realm cultivators. And they were even Soul Palace elders. Yet they were so easily dealt with without any effort. Though this was with the help of the mysterious poison mist, this was reality. This was a battle. Why would the enemy give you a fair chance? Of course, you had to use whatever methods you had. By the way, how can we receive the inheritance of the Soul Tribe? Xia Ping tied up the group of people and turned to ask Lu Rulan. Lu Rulan was stunned. She did not expect things to go so smoothly. However, if Xia Ping hadn't obtained Chun Wei's cultivation nullifying poison, it wouldn't have been so easy for him to deal with these divine tier cultivators. He had to thank Chun Wei for personally delivering such a treasure to him. She thought for a moment, then said, "As long as you place your hand on the inheritance tablet, then use your divine sense to communicate with the inheritance tablet, you will be able to receive the inheritance instilled by the inheritance tablet. However, this is my soul race's inheritance tablet. Since ancient times, no outsider has ever touched it. I'm not sure if the inheritance tablet can be used by outsiders. It was her first time encountering such a situation. Then let's give it a try." Xia Ping was a bold man. He gently placed his right hand on the inheritance monument while circulating his spiritual consciousness and penetrating it into the inheritance monument. Buzz, at that moment, the entire legacy steel trembled and emitted a black light. Like an energy barrier, it spread out in all directions and covered the entire legacy palace. Even Lu Rulan was affected by it. Soon after, a mechanical voice came from the inheritance tablet. "Beep beep, the person receiving the inheritance is a male. He's not from the soul race. After inspection, the quality of his soul is extremely high. Beep beep, there's also a female nearby. She's from the soul race. She has a heavenly soul body, and the quality of her soul is extremely high. You've met the requirements for the inheritance. Please accept the inheritance." Boom! Immediately, a terrifying energy exploded from the inheritance tablet, enveloping Xia Ping and Lu Rulan. What? Xia Ping was shocked. He could feel that the energy was extremely powerful. It wasn't something he could resist at the moment. With a bang, Xia Ping and Lu Rulan were enveloped by the energy. The two of them hugged each other tightly, leaving almost no space between them. Ah! Lu Rulan blushed. She could feel an extremely strong masculine aura from Xia Ping's body. She had never been so close to a man in her life, let alone such an intimate contact. One must know that she was the Soul Palace's saintess, and was once known as the #1 beauty in the Blood Soul mainland. Ordinary men would never have the chance to get close to her. It was difficult for her to even look at him. The current situation was simply unprecedented. Whoosh! In the next second, the inheritance tablet shot out 2 beams of black light, hitting Xia Ping and Lu Rulan's heads respectively. A huge amount of information surged into their brains. Telepathy skill. Xia Ping and Lu Rulan immediately knew that it was a supreme spiritual secret skill given to them by the inheritance tablet. However, Lu Rulan's face was as red as a tomato. Her face was almost ripe. Although the secret skill sounded nice, in essence, it was a skill for dual cultivation of the soul. The Blood Soul Saint had obtained the secret skill from an ancient ruin. It had endless uses, and was suitable for couples to cultivate. Once the cultivation was successful, the two of them would reach the state of telepathy. Due to the merging of yin and yang, the man and the woman would continuously increase the energy and purity of their souls. Their cultivation speed would increase by leaps and bounds. They would even be able to communicate with each other mentally and comprehend the martial arts experience that the other party had obtained, improving each other. It was a terrifying effect. It was said that the skill was created by an invincible saint in ancient times. Back then, he had a harem of 3,000 beauties, and every single one of them was a goddess with peerless potential. Using this skill, the great martial emperor and the 3,000 beauties quickly learned the remarkable martial arts skills of the 3,000 goddesses, saving him a lot of time and effort. This was equivalent to having thousands of doppelgangers assisting him in his cultivation. However, the requirements for this secret skill were extremely high. Both the man and the woman had to have peerless potential in order to cultivate it. Even a slight difference would not work. Therefore, the inheritance tablet detected that both of them had peerless potential, and it was a man and a woman. They perfectly fulfilled the conditions for the telepathy skill to be inherited. This was a coincidence that only happened after many years. Oh no! Xia Ping and Lu Rulan could not help but immerse themselves in the supreme skill. The skill automatically circulated, and they succeeded in cultivating it in an instant. Both of their hands and feet were pressed against each other. Boom! Both of their bodies shook. Vaguely, sounds of Tao could be heard from the void. Both of their souls seemed to have flown out of their bodies and rose into the air. At that moment, Xia Ping and Lu Rulan's souls were in the most primitive and naked state. This was the essence of yin and yang, and both of them could not help but be attracted to each other and entangled with each other. Lu Rulan's long legs, slim waist, and smooth skin were especially attractive. Even though she was in the state of her soul, her radiance was irresistible. She was the #1 beauty of the Blood Soul mainland. No, don't. Chapter 1190. What is this feeling? Xia Ping felt incredibly wondrous. Dual cultivation at the soul level was many times more advanced than physical cultivation. It seemed to be a fusion of essence, a clash of souls. His soul was originally in a pure yang state. Now it merged with Lu Rulan's heavenly soul avatar. Yin and yang merged into one, forming the shape of the universe. The two complemented each other. His soul gave off wisps of black aura that seemed to be quickly expelled. The impurities in the depths of his soul were all expelled under this state of cultivation, reaching a pure state. This also made his soul even more condensed and indestructible. Lu Rulan also felt incredibly wondrous. She felt as if she had entered her mother's embrace and was in the amniotic fluid state. Her entire body was warm and incomparably warm. She felt an unprecedented peace of mind. Her heavenly soul avatar seemed to have been completely developed and sublimated. Her soul energy increased at an unprecedented rate, even faster than her 18 years of cultivation. In the state of telepathy, she could even feel the wisps of martial truth in Xia Ping's mind. This gave her great inspiration, as if she was in a state of enlightenment. Under such circumstances, her understanding of martial arts had reached an unprecedented height. The two continued to cultivate. As their soul energy increased, their bodies turned into two huge whirlpools. Vast amounts of yuan qi of the universe surged in. Their magic power was also rapidly increasing. A day passed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, in the inheritance hall of the Soul Hall, Xia Ping sat cross-legged on the ground. After a day and night of cultivation and dual cultivation with Lu Rulan, both had completely grasped telepathy and reached the state of yin and yang fusion. This brought great benefits to Xia Ping. He sat on the ground like a golden sun. His entire body gave off blinding light that seemed to dye the entire inheritance hall gold. It was incomparably dazzling, as if it was forged from gold. If anyone was in the inheritance hall, they would definitely be shocked. At this moment, Xia Ping's consciousness power was like flames that could burn people. It was like an eternal divine furnace that contained inextinguishable flames. His soul was almost tangible. Waves of heat rolled and surged, seemingly turning this place into a sea of fire. Late stage of the fulfillment realm. After cultivating with Lu Rulan, Xia Ping obtained great benefits. He finally crossed the threshold of the middle stage of the fulfillment realm and ascended to the late stage of the fulfillment realm. In fact, because he had the heart resonance art, his consciousness power and magic power were continuously increasing. After refining the medicinal power inside his body, he actually broke through again and directly reached the peak of the fulfillment realm. He was only one step away from divine tier. Once he comprehended a martial path god art and condensed a god art talisman, he would be able to truly step into the god art realm. Only by reaching this realm could one be considered to have a certain level of combat power in the universe. They could be called high-level cannon fodder, and their combat power would be much stronger than before. At this moment, 2,000 of the Golden Crow Hell cells in his body were quickly unsealed, and they were constantly being absorbed into his body. The majestic Golden Crow Hell energy was like magma, flowing around his meridians. This also made Xia Ping's physique even stronger than before. Each and every one of his movements contained the power of a divine beast. A light punch of his created wind that was enough to crush a small mountain. Lu Rulan's benefits were even greater. She had also ascended to the peak of the fulfillment realm, and her soul energy was many times stronger than before. She sat where she was, and her body emitted a holy light like a goddess. At this moment, the two of them opened their eyes at the same time. They finally woke up from their cultivation state. The power that the heritage tablet placed on them had long disappeared without a trace. Having just woken up, Lu Rulan's pretty face was flushed, and her beautiful eyes were extremely shy. She resisted the urge to push away Xia Ping, who was still sticking to her, and her body was trembling slightly. Her slender legs, slender waist, and exquisite curves made her seem otherworldly. Her appearance was devastatingly beautiful, and she exuded boundless charm. If other men were to see her, they would probably go crazy. There was no male animal that wouldn't bow down to her pomegranate skirt. How did this happen? Lu Rulan's beautiful eyes were watery, and her body was trembling. She was extremely shy as she recalled what happened yesterday, and her temperament changed as well. She seemed to have turned from a young lady to a young master. This was because the cultivation of the telepathy art was too intimate. Even family members would not be this close. This was a dual cultivation of the soul. They interacted with each other, and they could share some of each other's secrets and feelings. It could be said that there was no more intimate contact in the world than this, even between a husband and wife. Although they did not have any physical contact, if they were to be calculative, she would have lost her chastity to this bastard a long time ago. Furthermore, he had cultivated for a day and a night, and performed countless techniques. Lu Rulan was extremely embarrassed when she thought about this bastard's flexible and endless techniques during cultivation. Just how many women did this bastard fuck to know so much? Just how many concubines did he have around him? It was said that there were countless planets in the universe, and the number of demons was as numerous as carps crossing the river. This bastard couldn't have owned a planet's women, could he? Sigh, humans make mistakes and horses stumble. I've been hunting wild geese all day, but I never expected to be pecked in the eye by a wild geese. I never expected that Xia Ping would have such a day. I was actually fucked by a woman. What a great humiliation. Xia Ping roared into the sky. There seemed to be a trace of tears at the corner of his eyes. He was like a pretty boy who had been captured by a female bandit king, and had been ravaged by the female king for an entire night. He was in so much pain that he wished he were dead. What did you say? Lu Rulan's beautiful eyes were spitting fire as she glared at Xia Ping. Dual cultivation with a great beauty like her was the lifelong dream of countless men. Such a good thing would definitely be emitting smoke from their ancestors' graves. However, this bastard was even saying that humans make mistakes and horses stumble. He made it seem as if she had raped this man. As the Soul Palace Saintess, she had seen many cunning and ruthless people. However, this was the first time she had seen such a shameless man. What do you want? You can't be thinking of forcefully taking me, right? Xia Ping looked at Lu Rulan with a bit of fear. It was as if he was looking at a super bastard. Who wants to forcefully take you? Stop dreaming. Lu Rulan was so angry that she was spitting fire. She wanted to bite this pervert to death. Don't try to hide it. I could tell with a glance that you wanted to take me. Chapter 1191. Gangster. Who doesn't know that you're a super liar? Lu Rulan spat at Xia Ping. Through the dual cultivation, she also knew the true face of this bastard. He was not called Master Potato at all. Even his previous appearance was a disguise. He was a shameless liar. The appearance could be changed, but the soul could not. Therefore, she knew some information about Xia Ping. For example, he was born on planet Yanhuang, came from the cloud realm, became the last disciple of the heaven and earth sex saint, and had a distinguished status. Of course, she had no way of knowing the core information. After all, these were secrets in the depths of the soul. If Xia Ping did not want others to know, she would not be able to find out. It could be said that from the beginning to the end, this bastard did not say a word of truth. If it was not for the accident this time, and they had unintentionally dual cultivation, she would still be in the dark and did not know anything. However, Through this dual cultivation, Lu Rulon also deeply understood how terrifying this bastard named Xiaping was. His soul power was more than 10 times stronger than the cultivators of the same realm from the Soul Clan. His soul power was like the sun, and it could burn any enemy to death. If any cultivator from the Soul Clan dared to attack Xiaping, they would definitely die without a burial place. This was a monster from the depths of the universe, a disciple of a saint with unfathomable cultivation and peerless talent that others could never hope to achieve. Xiaping wanted to say something, but suddenly the heritage tablet shook again, and a mechanical voice was heard. The telepathic heart skill has been successfully cultivated. Clansman Lu Rulon meets the requirements of the heritage. Immediately teleport to the Holy Land to accept the final heritage of the Holy Land. Boom! In the next second, a black light instantly enveloped Lu Rulon's body. Suddenly, a complicated teleportation formation appeared under her feet, and densely packed lines appeared. These lines seemed to be engraved in the void. They were the imprints of Tao, and were unfathomable. What's going on? Xiaping did not react, and did not know what was going on. Lu Rulon exclaimed. She felt that her body seemed to be wrapped by a force. It was an irresistible force. Her entire body disappeared on the spot, and she did not know where she had been teleported to. Heritage tablet, what's going on? Xiaping stared at the heritage tablet. He knew that the heritage tablet seemed to be a magic treasure with an artifact spirit. It was definitely not a dead object. If you don't say anything, don't blame me for being rude. Xiaping squinted his eyes, emitting a dense killing intent as he stared at the inheritance steel. If it still dared to pretend that it couldn't speak, he wouldn't mind personally destroying it. As if sensing the murderous intent in the air, the heritage monument said, "Don't worry, she is fine. She has passed the test and fulfilled the requirements of the Blood Soul Saint's inheritance. So she has been sent to the sacred land to receive the final inheritance. She has become the Blood Soul Saint's designated successor." Holy Land? Where is the Holy Land? Xiaping asked. The inheritance tablet replied, "No comment. However, it is not in the Blood Soul continent, but in a certain corner of the universe. It is mysterious and unfathomable, and even the saints would not be able to find it. It is the true lair of the Blood Soul Saint." Xiaping stroked his chin. Since Lu Rulon had been chosen as the successor of the Blood Soul Saint, logically speaking, there should not be any major issues with her safety. He looked at the inheritance steel and asked, "I've also successfully cultivated the art of telepathy. Why didn't I receive the Blood Soul Saint's inheritance? Isn't this discrimination? You are not a member of the soul race." The inheritance tablet's tone was cold, indicating that only members of the soul race had the right to receive the Blood Soul Saint's inheritance. Forget it then. Do you have any other soul secret skills? If you do, give me a few. I will repay you in the future. Xiaping still wanted to obtain more soul secret skills from the inheritance tablet. Outsiders do not have the right to receive the soul race's soul secret skills. Being able to obtain the art of telepathy is already a great fortune. Outsider, you should be content. The inheritance tablet seemed to despise Xiaping's insatiable greed. Alright, if you don't have a few, then one will do. For example, the Blood Soul Saints control secret skill that could enslave other saints. I wonder if you have it. If you teach it to me, I will definitely make this secret skill shine in the future, and spread the name of the Blood Soul Saint. Xiaping was still unwilling to give up, and wanted to receive the supreme inheritance. Outsider, this is the highest secret of the soul race. It cannot be leaked. You should just give up. The inheritance tablet was speechless. It felt that it had underestimated the skin of this outsider. He even wanted to obtain the Blood Soul Saint's core method. It was simply a dream. One had to know that even if many saints joined forces and paid a huge price, they still could not obtain the core inheritance of the Blood Soul Saint. How could it leak this secret skill? That was a top secret skill that only the direct descendants of the Blood Soul Saint were qualified to learn. Can't leak it. That means you really do have it. Xiaping narrowed his eyes. The inheritance tablet immediately shut up. It felt that it had been too talkative and leaked a lot of information. However, it had not spoken for a long time. It could not help but say a few more words when it met someone who was qualified to communicate with it. It had been careless just now. System, is there any way to obtain the mystery inside this inheritance tablet? Xiaoping immediately asked the system in the depths of his mind. There was no way to obtain the inheritance through ordinary means. Everything depended on this almost omnipotent system to have a glimmer of hope. That's simple. The system replied. If you want to obtain the final inheritance in this inheritance tablet, you need to spend 800 million hatred points. 800 million hatred points. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a glimmer of light. If he could get the core secret skill of the Blood Soul Saint, a mere 800 million hatred points would be worth it. Okay, spend 800 million hatred points immediately. Xiaoping immediately said. The system said, please place your right hand on the inheritance tablet, and the system will immediately deprive it of the inheritance knowledge. Whoosh! Xiaoping immediately placed his right hand on the inheritance tablet. Outsider, what are you trying to do? Even if you put it on top, you will not get any inheritance. Please leave quickly. The inheritance tablet dissuaded Xiaoping, hoping that the other party would not do useless work. But in the next second, it suddenly felt an irresistible force surging in. It was like a supreme god, incomparably domineering, directly breaking through its internal defenses. It seemed that any array defense in its body was quickly destroyed like paper. Outsider, what have you done to me? The inheritance tablet was shocked. It was the first time it had encountered such a thing. This power seemed to be supreme, even more terrifying than the saints. It was simply unimaginable. It was not in the same dimension at all. Dong! In the next second, it felt that its spiritual mind was in a trance. Some of the inheritance in the depths of the inheritance tablet seemed to be directly taken away. It felt as if it was missing some memories. Chapter 1192. Congratulations, host. You've obtained the secret skill, Soul Seal. The system's voice was heard immediately. Soul Seal. Xiaoping immediately sensed a huge stream of information coming from the depths of the system. Countless ancient words and pictures seemed to envelop his entire brain region in golden light. Although he didn't understand what it meant, with the help of the system, he completely understood it. Soul Seal was a secret skill of the Blood Soul Saint that enslaved all living beings in the world. Any living being with a soul could not escape the shackles of the Soul Seal. It used the power of its divine sense to condense a soul seal that contained its own spiritual imprint. This soul seal could be integrated into the depths of the enemy's soul. Once the integration was successful, the soul seal could control the other party's life and death. If its master was unhappy, it could kill the other party instantly. This was the ultimate enslavement secret skill. What was even more terrifying about the soul seal was that it could subtly influence the slave's soul, making the slave unknowingly loyal to its master. It was as if they had been brainwashed. Even if the slave had killed their father, under the influence of the soul seal, they would become extremely loyal. Unless the master removed the soul seal, they would never be able to get rid of it. Back then, the Blood Soul Saint had used the Soul Seal secret skill to enslave many saints, making them his loyal subordinates and conquering vast territories in the universe. How complicated. Xiaoping was very emotional. If not for the system's help, he estimated that even if the Soul Seal secret skill was placed in front of him, it would take him at least 10 years to comprehend it, and he might even only be at the beginner level. This was because condensing the Soul Seal required meticulous manipulation. One had to use their divine sense to outline talisman lines in the void. Every stroke could not have the slightest mistake. If there was even the slightest mistake, it would fail on the verge of success and cause the soul seal to collapse. There were hundreds of thousands of such talisman lines. They were so densely packed that it was even more terrifying than a spider's web. Therefore, even though the heritage steel had been in the Blood Soul mainland for more than 1,000,000 years, it had never found a suitable successor. This was because it was too difficult to find a monster who had mastered the soul seal. I need to be at least at the god realm to condense the soul seal. Do I succeed in cultivating this secret skill? Xiaoping also realized that it was impossible to condense the soul seal with his current strength. He had to at least reach the god realm to succeed in cultivating it. Moreover, even if he succeeded in cultivating it, he would not be able to enslave a large number of enemies. In order to condense a soul seal, one needed to split a portion of their soul force. This would cause them to suffer quite a bit of damage, so the number of soul seals that could be condensed was limited. If there were no restrictions, the Blood Soul Saint would have long been invincible and become the master of all the sages. Secondly, the soul power of the being enslaved couldn't be stronger than the owner. Otherwise, the soul imprint would collapse in an instant, and the owner would suffer a backlash. Thus, the slaves who accepted the soul seal had to be carefully selected and carefully considered. If they weren't a powerful being with endless potential, they simply didn't have the qualifications to accept the soul seal. Even so, this was still a rather terrifying mind-controlling secret technique. If he used it properly, it would bring him great benefits. For example, controlling a divine beast cub with limitless potential, the leader of a superpower, or a sage. In any case, this was a terrifying trump card that countless sages feared. It was classified as a forbidden power, and no one was allowed to come into contact with it. Once they were discovered, they would immediately be wanted by the saints of the entire universe and become the greatest evildoer of the world. However, the power of the soul seal was extremely secretive. It was hidden deep within the soul, and it wasn't easy to discover it. This soul seal sure has many uses. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. This secret technique enslaving living beings was just one of its terrifying powers. In reality, it had many other uses. For example, it could leave a soul seal on the enemy. Then no matter where the enemy escaped to, it could be tracked. Therefore, all the enemies who offended the Blood Soul Saint would be captured and killed. None of them were spared. Other than that, it could also form a mind seal to protect the soul and memories of the user, preventing enemies, who were proficient in mind power secret techniques, from harming the user. Of course, there were many other uses that Xiaoping hadn't discovered yet. This was just the tip of the iceberg. This soul seal secret technique is quite terrifying. I wonder who else will obtain it. Xiaoping also understood why the other sages were so afraid of the Blood Soul Saint. It would be great if he could control it. However, if it was controlled by the enemy, it would be quite terrifying. Perhaps unknowingly, the person closest to him or her would be controlled by the enemy, turning into a traitor and stabbing him or her in the back at a critical moment. This was something that no one could stand. Don't worry, host. The soul seal secret technique on this inheritance tablet has been taken away by the system. No one can obtain the soul seal secret technique from the inheritance tablet. The system said. However, there may be other places where the soul seal secret technique is passed down. This is unknown. Amazing. Xiaoping was convinced. The system in his body was indeed powerful. This inheritance tablet could be considered a secret treasure. Its level probably surpassed that of a spirit weapon. Ordinary forces couldn't harm it at all, and it had an indestructible characteristic. However, facing the system, it had no way to resist, and was easily deprived of its inheritance knowledge. The other party seemed to have lost his memory, and didn't even know that he had such a secret technique. Since I've obtained the Soul Seal secret technique, it's about time. I should leave Soul Palace. Otherwise, if I'm discovered by other experts of Soul Palace, it'll be troublesome. Xiaoping decided to leave Soul Palace. Originally, he wanted to obtain more secret techniques from the inheritance tablet, but the inheritance tablet didn't seem to allow these secret techniques to be taught to outsiders. Moreover, in order to obtain the Soul Seal, he had spent a total of 800 million hatred points. Now he only had 80 million hatred points left. Therefore, he didn't have any hatred points to deprive the inheritance tablet of any secret techniques. As for Lu Rulan, she was also teleported to the Holy Land of Soul Clan. It was estimated that she was safe. He couldn't find her in a short time, so he had to leave the Blood Soul continent alone. Whoosh! Thinking of this, Xiaoping quickly left the inheritance hall, then took the teleportation formation, and returned to Huining City. Has it been successful? At this moment, Corinne also left the valley and took away a large number of soul stones quietly without anyone noticing. Then, he went to Huining City to meet Xiaoping. It's a success. Let's leave the Blood Soul continent. Xiaoping smiled slightly. He had gained a lot from this mission. Not only did he get the Soul Seal secret technique, but he also got a large number of soul stones. Even a sage would be jealous of his harvest this time. That's good. Corinne nodded. Boom, an hour later, a spaceship rose from a secret place, and Xiaoping and Corinne quickly left the Blood Soul continent. Chapter 1193. Look, the barrier's power seems to have weakened. At that moment, countless soul race experts had gathered in the valley. They were extremely nervous, as they paid close attention to the situation inside the barrier. Some of them were very sensitive, and immediately noticed that the barrier seemed to be different from before. It seemed to have weakened significantly, and was not as strong and indestructible as before. Yeah, it really is. Is the Blood Soul Saint's seal about to be broken? That's very likely. It's been 2 days. It's normal for the seal to weaken. We'll probably see the Blood Soul Saint reappear in another day. But we didn't catch those foreign fiends and didn't complete the ancestor's orders. Will the ancestor be angry? How magnanimous is the ancestor? How could he be angry? Yeah, let's wait and see. We'll be able to see the ancestor reappear soon. The crowd grew excited. They were unable to contain their emotions when they thought about how the Blood Soul Saint was about to come out of the spirit formation space once the seal was removed. After all, the Blood Soul Saint was a legend. Basically, everyone in the soul race had grown up listening to the stories of the Blood Soul Saint. He was a mythical figure. Chang Shisheng and the others were slightly perturbed instead, because they'd mobilized so many forces earlier and moved out in full force. Yet they were unable to capture those xeno-race fiends and allowed them to vanish without a trace. This was an extraordinary humiliation. They didn't know what the Blood Soul Saint would think of this. If he would punish them heavily, they would be in trouble. But a day quickly passed, and the barrier was still intact. There was not even the slightest movement. Some people were very nervous. What's going on? Didn't the ancestor say that it would only take 3 days to break the seal? It's already been 3 days. Why is there no movement at all? It can't be that he failed to break the seal, right? Impossible. Even if he failed, there should be some movement. At the very least, the ancestor inside the barrier should have informed us. Don't try to scare us. Someone immediately retorted. If that's the case, why is there no movement now? Even if you failed, you could have told us, the man said in a deep voice. He felt that something was wrong. Chang Shisheng and the others also nodded. They also felt that something was wrong. I don't think we can continue waiting here. There's no point in waiting like this, a hot-tempered man said. Why don't we help as well? The great ancestor is breaking the seal inside the enchantment, while we attack the enchantment from the outside. If we work together, won't the speed of breaking the seal be faster? It's still not right. Who knows what's going on with this seal? If you attack recklessly and cause the seal to become more troublesome and hurt the ancestor, can you at least bear this responsibility? Someone berated. Forget it. If you don't dare to come, I will. A middle-aged man dressed in black stood out and punched the barrier. Originally, he was already prepared for the consequences of being struck back by the spirit formation, and was also completely prepared for it. However, he did not expect that his fist would actually directly pierce through the entire spirit formation space. With a whooshing sound, his entire body disappeared into it. What? Everyone was dumbfounded and looked at each other. They had no idea what was going on. Clearly, they couldn't break this spirit formation space even when they joined forces. Now they actually entered it so easily. It was too incredible. Maybe the great ancestor has broken the seal. Let's go in and take a look. Chang Shisheng immediately realized that this spirit formation was different from before. He took the lead and walked into the spirit formation space. Whooshing, whooshing. The others also looked at each other and entered the space one after another. Immediately, the figures of Chang Shisheng and the others appeared in the space. Is this the inside of the spirit formation space? What's going on? Where is the great ancestor? Everyone entered and looked around. They found that there was no one in this space. Not to mention the figure of the great ancestor. There was not even a single person. Moreover, this space was only so big, and there was no place to hide people. If there's no one, how did those notes appear before? Who took them out? Someone was puzzled. Could it be that what happened before was an illusion? Was it a supernatural event? That's right, where are the soul stones? We threw so many soul stones in, but why haven't we seen a single one? Did we see a ghost? A soul palace elder shouted. Not only could they not find anyone, they couldn't even find a soul stone. It was too strange. Wait, there seems to be a few words written on the desk. Immediately, someone found a line of words left on the desk in a study room. When many people heard these words, they quickly moved forward and looked at it. Immediately, they saw the words written on it. Master Mateto has come here to visit. Many thanks to the Soul Clan brothers for the soul stones. This great kindness will never be forgotten. I will definitely repay it in the future. Master Mateto, why is this name so familiar? I seem to have heard it somewhere before. A baldy rubbed his head. Stupid. Someone next to him cursed and slapped his bald head. Of course I'm familiar with him. Isn't this Master Mateto the murderer, who killed Temple Master Chang's son? Isn't he a ferocious and inhumane demon from the outer domain? That baldy was stunned on the spot, but he quickly remembered what happened 3 days ago. Fuck, why is he thanking us? He's an outer realm evil devil, the target of our soul race's pursuit. Someone was still stunned, not knowing what happened. You still don't understand. We've been tricked. The person in this barrier space isn't the old ancestor, but this outer realm evil devil Master Mateto. That bastard impersonated the old ancestor's identity. A soul palace elder shouted in grief and indignation. Seeing the message, how could he not know that they were all tricked by this Master Mateto like idiots? Many people around him also realized and their faces turned green, as if their wives had cheated on them. No way, then what about the soul stones we threw in? Where did the 200,000 to 300,000 soul stones go? Someone yelled. That's 300,000 soul stones, piled up like a small mountain. How can he carry it all by himself? Isn't he afraid of bursting? He really didn't understand. 300,000 soul stones. Even if a person had 3 heads and 6 arms, they wouldn't be able to carry that much. That was equivalent to carrying a small mountain while walking. With such a large commotion, there was no way they didn't notice. Do you even need to ask? He's an outer realm evil devil. It's said that these evil devils all have a treasure called spatial ring that can store large amounts of things. I reckon that bastard put the soul stones in the spatial ring and took them away. Chapter 1194. Spatial Ring. Many people from the soul race nodded. They had fought with the extraterrestrial fiends for many years and fought countless battles. Naturally, they knew about treasures like spatial rings. Some of them had even collected some. Of course, it was impossible for everyone to have one like the extraterrestrial fiends. Only the higher-ups of the Soul Palace, or the elders of some big families, had the qualifications to have one. However, a spatial ring's space was still limited. It could not store 300,000 soul stones at once. That was why they were careless, and did not think of this. That's not right. Someone shouted. Even if he has many spatial rings, and can take away 300,000 soul stones, the problem is where did he escape from? You have to know that the experts of our soul race have locked down the area within 100 miles. Even a fly can fly by, and we will know clearly. How did he escape? Everyone nodded. It was also because of this that they were not worried that the person inside the barrier was a fake. After all, almost all the elites of the soul race were gathered in this place. There were countless divinity realm cultivators. They had also surrounded the barrier. How could the other party escape? Moreover, they were not worried about the strength of the person inside the barrier. In the Blood Soul continent, no matter how strong one's cultivation was, they would be suppressed to below divinity realm by the laws of heaven and earth. Unless the other party was the Blood Soul Saint, who created the Blood Soul continent, he could break through the restrictions of the laws of heaven and earth. Otherwise, even Thunder Calamity Realm cultivators could not break through the restrictions. Therefore, under the suppression of absolute strength, they were full of confidence in themselves. If the other party was a fake, they would definitely let the other party know why the flowers were so red. However, they did not expect that the other party was not only a fake, but also disguised as the Blood Soul Saint. Moreover, he had silently escaped from their encirclement and disappeared without a trace. This made them furious. Underground tunnel. There's an underground tunnel here. That son of a bitch escaped from here. Someone quickly discovered that there was a big hole under the barrier. This big hole was bottomless. Some soul race cultivators immediately went in and found that the underground tunnel was hundreds of meters deep and stretched for hundreds of kilometers. It led to another place far away from the valley. It was estimated that Master Potato used this underground tunnel to escape without being discovered by anyone. After all, no matter how powerful their divine sense was, it was impossible for them to perceive the place hundreds of meters underground. Moreover, no one had the awareness to explore the underground world all the time. Therefore, Master Potato escaped from the valley without anyone noticing. My God, how was this underground tunnel dug out? The project is too huge. He actually dug a tunnel hundreds of kilometers long to escape. That Master Potato is simply a madman. The group of people were dumbfounded. They couldn't imagine how much work it would take to build an underground tunnel that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Even if tens of thousands of people worked at the same time, it would still take several months. Just how much effort did that guy put into setting up this trap? However, they did not know that digging this underground tunnel was not a difficult task for Xiaoping. Or rather, it was child's play for the golden slimes. In just one day, it had completed the tunnel, swallowing up a large amount of soil, sand and stones. If it was given enough time, it could even hollow out the entire planet. Bastard Potato, I definitely won't forgive him. 300,000 soul stones were stolen by this bastard just like that. Not even a strand of hair was left. So greedy. Isn't he afraid of being stuffed to death? The Soul Palace Elder's face turned green from anger. His heart ached terribly. 300,000 soul stones was an unimaginably huge sum in the Blood Soul continent. Even a super family's wealth was only this much. Even when those outer realm evil devils came to the Blood Soul continent, in order to complete a mission, they would only be able to leave this place alive with a dozen soul stones. But now that bastard stole 300,000 soul stones. This was practically cutting off their flesh and drinking their blood. Stuffed to death, that bastard doesn't know how great it is. He even dared to cheat 300,000 soul stones. How can there be such a swindler in this world? Shameless, using our concern for the old ancestor to cheat our pure feelings. He is shameless. Where is the basic trust between people? As expected of the outer realm evil devils, none of them have the slightest sense of propriety or shame. They have no morals. Goddamn Potato, I curse his son to be born without a PII. Many soul race experts cursed and wanted to spit on Xiaoping to vent the anger in their hearts. Everyone felt a sense of anger at being fooled. If Xiaoping appeared in this place, he would definitely be torn to pieces by the angry crowd. And not even his dregs would be left. Potato, I'm going to kill you. With a dong sound, Soul Palace's palace master Chang Shishing was infuriated. He slammed his palm on the desk, immediately shattering the wooden desk into pieces. A berserk aura emanated from his body. That bastard evil devil not only killed his son, but also swindled 300,000 soul stones from the Blood Soul continent. This was an irreconcilable enmity. There was probably no one here who was angrier than him. The surrounding people could feel the anger in Chang Shishing's heart. He was like a glaring Vajra, wanting to kill all the demons and ghosts. If God stood in his way, he would kill God. If Buddha stood in his way, he would kill Buddha. Report. Suddenly, a Soul Palace scout quickly came from afar and arrived next to Chang Shishing. His expression was panicked, and he was panting as if something big had happened. Aren't you the guard captain of Soul Palace's main palace? Why aren't you guarding the main palace? Did something big happen in the main palace? A Soul Palace elder immediately recognized the person. Chang Shisheng and the others' hearts tightened. They felt that something big had happened. That person immediately yelled, "Palace Lord Senior's main palace is in big trouble." The Inheritance Palace was invaded by the Outer Realm evil devils. Many Soul Palace elders were knocked unconscious on the ground. If it wasn't because we felt that the Inheritance Palace had been quiet for a long time, and sent a guard to check, we wouldn't even know that something big happened in the Inheritance Palace. What? Everyone was shocked. If losing 300,000 soul stones was just an external loss, it wasn't much. After all, there were many soul stones in the Blood Soul continent, and it could be recovered sooner or later. Chapter 1195. What's going on? Did something big happen in Inheritance Palace? Many Soul Palace elders nervously looked at this guard. They instinctively felt that something big had happened. Inheritance Palace was no small matter. They couldn't afford to be careless at all. On the surface, it looks like nothing happened. A few elders are just unconscious and didn't receive much damage. However, I feel that our Soul Palace's secret technique might have been stolen. The guard said in a low voice. His face was extremely gloomy. How do you know it was stolen? Even if the Inheritance Palace was broken in, the Inheritance Tablet is our soul race's secret treasure. If it wasn't a soul race person, he couldn't have received the inheritance. Someone asked. The guard's face was very strange, but he still said, because the little thief wrote a line of words on the Inheritance Palace's wall. Truly disappointing. Soul Palace's defense is nothing more than this. I've taken away the soul race secret technique. As a memento, I've signed it as Master Wu Taidu. What Master Wu Taidu? Hearing this, everyone was shocked and jumped in fright. They simply couldn't believe their ears. They all stared closely at this guard. Especially Palace Master Chang Shisheng. His eyes looked like he wanted to eat someone. His killing intent soared and pierced through the heavens. Yeah, Master Wu Taidu, do you guys know him? The guard was stared at by so many people full of killing intent. He couldn't help but feel a bit scared, as if he was being stared at by a savage beast. I know him. Even if he turns to ashes, I'll still recognize this bastard. He played the entire continent like fools. He just swindled 300,000 soul stones from us. A whole 300,000? A Soul Palace elder roared into the sky, thinking of the 300,000 soul stones disappearing into the pockets of the Outer Realm evil devil. His heart ached, as if someone was cutting off his flesh. 300,000 soul stones. That Soul Palace guard leader was stunned. His entire body was shaking. This was another frightening number. He couldn't even imagine how much wealth this was. It was an astronomical amount. Everyone else's faces were ashen. When they thought of how they had foolishly given these soul stones to that fiend from the Outer Realm, they were filled with hatred. They wanted nothing more than to slap themselves a few times. Wasn't this clearly giving money to the enemy? And they were so excited just now. When they thought of this, they wanted to dig a hole and bury themselves. They didn't want to come out and embarrass themselves. Fuck his 18 generations of ancestors. Arrogant, truly too arrogant. He stole our Soul Palace's inheritance, yet still dares to brazenly write his own name, as if he's afraid that others don't know. Just how arrogant does he want to be before he gives up? Does he think we're made of mud? Roared another Soul Palace elder. He was simply fuming with rage. He had lived for an entire 500 years, and had seen countless fiends from the outer realms. No matter how cunning or vicious they were, he had seen them all. However, they had never seen such an arrogant fiend from the outer realm, who dared to write a memento after snatching their belongings. Not only that, he even left a message to thank them for their generosity. Feeling his face go numb, they wanted nothing more than to peel off his skin, pull out his tendons, chop him up and feed him to the dogs. This was a slap to their faces. Their faces were swollen, and they could barely breathe. Every one of them felt a lifetime of humiliation. Even when they were cuckolded, they had never felt so sullen. Fuck. Not only did he swindle so many soul stones from us, he even snuck into the Inheritance Palace when we left the Soul Palace and stole our soul race's inheritance. We can't live under the same sky as him. We can't spare him, We definitely can't spare that bastard. I swear that I will capture him and tear him into pieces. Where is that bastard? Let's set off immediately and slaughter him. We must slaughter him. From now on, Master Mutato is the common enemy of our soul race. We must kill him. All of the soul race experts roared, their killing intent soared, almost solidifying. Such a powerful killing intent seemed to resonate with the heavens and earth, turning the earth and sky upside down. The entire sky was covered by blood-colored clouds. Even the sun's light dimmed, cold wind blew, and ghostly wails and wolf howls could be heard. Everyone felt a bone-chilling coldness. But that extraterritorial devil has done such a world-shaking crime. I guess he has already escaped and left the Blood Soul continent. How can we capture him? Someone said helplessly. They were being monitored by many forces in the universe. Even a fly couldn't think of leaving the Blood Soul continent. If the other party had already left the Blood Soul continent, then they could do nothing but watch him escape. Instantly, many people felt even more sullen. The most hateful thing was that they could only watch as their enemies got away scot-free, without being able to do anything about it. This was truly extremely sullen. Don't worry, Chang Shishing sneered. Even if he leaves the Blood Soul continent, he won't be able to escape. Let's immediately spread the news that he has 300,000 soul stones on him. Let everyone know, and let those extraterritorial devils know. At that time, the number of people who want to kill him in the universe will probably be more than the number of people in our soul race. He revealed a trace of a sinister smile. That's right. Even in the universe, a soul stone is a precious treasure. It's worth a fortune. That's right. Every year, those extraterritorial devils desperately come to the Blood Soul continent. Isn't it for soul stones? You can imagine how much they desire soul stones. That kid has 300,000 soul stones on him. If this news is known by others, those extraterritorial devils who desire soul stones will be like carps crossing the river. Even if that liar Master Mutato is powerful, 2 fists can't fight against 4 hands. He will definitely die under the endless pursuit of the army. There is no chance for him to survive. Although there is no way to kill that extraterritorial devil with our own hands, as long as he dies, we will be happy. Brilliant, this plan is really brilliant. But if this news is leaked, then it will be a great loss of face. Who cares about face? He stole our soul race's inheritance and swindled us of 300,000 soul stones. I want him dead to vent the anger in my heart. He actually dared to fool us like this. I'll definitely kill him. Yes, soul stones don't matter, but Master Mutato must die. Everyone gritted their teeth. They hated this extraterritorial devil Master Mutato to the bone. Immediately spread this news. Put up a wanted order for Master Mutato in the entire continent. Chang Shishing roared and immediately issued an order. Yes. Many Soul Palace elders shouted angrily and immediately took action. Swoosh, swoosh. They returned to Huaining City, and then to every city in the world. They used the power of the entire Soul Palace to spread the news of Master Mutato's wanted. Chapter 1196. At this moment, the universe's martial artists hiding in various places of the Blood Soul continent also received the news from the Soul Palace. After all, this matter was too big, and anyone with a little bit of information would know. Master Mutato had become the most wanted criminal in the history of the Blood Soul continent. He could be called the #1 criminal. One could imagine the anger of Chang Shishing and others towards Xiaoping. My God! Someone actually got a total of 300,000 soul stones from the hands of the soul race. This is really amazing. What a huge wealth this is. Someone exclaimed. After learning this news, he was simply stunned. He did not know how to calculate the value of 300,000 soul stones. He estimated that he could not earn so much money in his lifetime. But now it was easily obtained by a person. It is indeed a very amazing number. If these soul stones are sold in the universe, the money obtained is enough to not worry about food and clothing for a lifetime, and cultivate to an unimaginable realm. I also got the news. It is said that the person who did this is called Master Mutato, but I don't know what his identity is. Is he a rogue cultivator, or a disciple of a sacred sect? Not only did he get 300,000 soul stones, I heard that he also sneaked into the main hall of the Soul Palace and successfully stole the inheritance of the soul race. He is really rich. A group of people were envious and jealous. They could not wait to replace Master Mateto and get a total of 300,000 soul stones. In this life, they never thought that they would get such a huge wealth. Therefore, after hearing this news, everyone's eyes were red. Damn, is that group of soul race soldiers stupid? They actually let that kid come and go as he pleases, treating the Soul Palace as his own home. If I try, maybe I can also enter the Soul Palace and plunder without restraint. Wouldn't that be rich? Someone's eyes showed greed. He also wanted to imitate Master Mateto, to sneak into the Soul Palace and plunder without restraint. Stupid. If it is really so simple, the Soul Palace would have been robbed long ago. Why would it wait until now? Many people had the same idea, but they are all dead. Someone despised, thinking that this was an act of courting death. He had heard countless senior brothers and sisters warn that they must not sneak into the Soul Palace. Otherwise they would definitely die without a burial place. Originally, sneaking into the Blood Soul continent was an extremely dangerous thing. But to sneak into the enemy's base camp, if this was not courting death, what else could it be? Although sneaking into the Soul Palace is not possible, and this behavior is also very stupid, but if we find that Master Mateto and kill this kid, then we can get 300,000 soul stones from him. Someone's eyes revealed a fierce light. They did not dare to enter the Soul Palace, but for the lone Master Mateto, it was much easier to deal with him. It was like a 3-year-old child suddenly obtaining a fortune worth hundreds of millions. It was impossible for others not to covet it. That's right. Immediately find the trace of Master Mateto and snatch the 300,000 soul stones from him. If we find that kid, not only will we be able to obtain the soul stone, but we'll also be able to obtain the secret arts of the soul race. It's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Master Mateto Palace, Mateto, Soul Palace, Soul Race. He can't escape. We also have many intelligence agents in the universe. Once we find someone selling a large number of soul stones, we can immediately find his whereabouts. He has nowhere to escape. That's right. Once we find his whereabouts, the treasures on him will belong to us. Many people's eyes revealed a greedy look. Treasures move people's hearts. Not to mention the wealth of 300,000 soul stones. It was enough to make countless experts move out to kill Master Mateto. For a time, they immediately spread the news through the universe virtual network. Ruling people everywhere, they asked to pay attention to Master Mateto, who had obtained 300,000 soul stones. If his whereabouts were found, they would immediately capture him alive. In another place in the Blood Soul continent, Ling Yin sect's disciples Chang Xian, Wang Chen, Wei Qi, and Jin Zhe also received the news. Seeing that the wanted person was Master Mateto, they were all shocked. I didn't expect that after not seeing him for more than a month, Brother Mateto actually did such an earth-shattering thing, deceiving the entire Blood Soul continent and easily swindling 300,000 soul stones. It's really amazing, Chang Xian admired. However, these 300,000 soul stones are a hot potato. Once Brother Mateto shows up, he will definitely be chased by countless martial artists in the universe. A group of hungry wolves will flock to him. If he is not careful, he will cause a fatal disaster. Wang Chen saw the risk in it. If Master Mateto was a disciple of a super family, getting 300,000 soul stones was nothing. No one dared to covet it. However, Master Mateto was just a rogue cultivator. In the eyes of many people, he was a fat sheep. Maybe the Golden Core Realm experts would choose to deal with Master Mateto and snatch the soul stones. Don't worry, Brother Mateto is a smart person. Before, Fan Ming and those bastards wanted to plot against Brother Mateto, but they couldn't do anything. Instead, they were killed by Brother Mateto. Wei Qi said with admiration. The reason why we can survive under the hands of Fan Ming and those bastards is also because of Brother Mateto's help. We are really grateful. After they woke up in a valley, they found that they were unharmed, but Xiaoping disappeared. They knew that Xiaoping definitely saved their lives. As for why Xiaoping left, It was estimated that there were unexplainable difficulties, and they didn't want to get to the bottom of it. But to be honest, don't you think this kind of deception is very familiar? It seems to be very similar to a super swindler, as if it was passed down from the same source. Jinzei suddenly said, "A swindler? Are you talking about Wu Wuti?" Chang Xian and others immediately exclaimed. They looked at each other and saw the horror in each other's eyes. They also thought of a big fraud case that happened a few months ago. They were cheated of more than $1 billion universe dollars, and the victims reached more than 1 million, which made countless people gnash their teeth in anger. Even the saintess of the Lingyun sect, Yi Mengyao, said that she would catch the super swindler Wu Wuti. One could imagine how evil the case that guy had committed was. Now it was the Blood Soul continent's turn. Many of the Soul Tribe's experts had been deceived, and they had lost 300,000 soul stones. Their losses were even worse than before. Moreover, the names of the two were so similar that it was impossible not to associate them. Could it be that Wu Wuti and Master Mateto are the same person? Chang Xian couldn't help but say, they may not be the same person. They may be brothers, passed down from the same source, and come from a swindler family. Wang Chen said in a deep voice. He felt that Master Mateto and Wu Wuti were not simple. Not only were they good at deception, but their own martial strength was also extremely terrifying. They may have a shocking inheritance that was no less than a saint-level sect. This matter has nothing to do with us. Brother Mateto saved us, so he is our benefactor. Although we can't help him, we can't betray him. In short, let's keep this matter to ourselves. Chang Xian said. Chapter 1197. The incident that happened in the Blood Soul continent quickly spread to the outside world. With the spread of the virtual network, many people in the star fields ruled by the 4 major sects, including the Soaring Cloud sect, the Qingquan sect, the 5 Elements sect, and the Gui Yuan sect, immediately got the news. After all, 300,000 soul stones was too shocking, even more shocking than winning $1 billion universe dollars. After all, soul stones were much more valuable than universe dollars. 300,000 soul stones, my God. That Master Mateto actually cheated 300,000 soul stones from the Blood Soul continent. He is simply going against the natural order, a swindler of the century. Someone exclaimed, how did he do this? Are the soul race clansmen really that stupid? Are they really going to let themselves be cheated of their soul stones, and obediently give him money? He really couldn't understand this matter. Many people were secretly speechless. A soul stone was worth a lot. What was the concept of 300,000 soul stones? As poor people, their imagination was still too lacking. It was really poverty that limited their imagination. Why do I feel that this matter has a familiar smell? This kind of method seems to have appeared in the star field ruled by our Soaring Cloud sect. A Soaring Cloud sect disciple shouted. But that person is called Invincible Wu. He cheated more than $1 billion universe dollars from our Soaring Cloud sect residents on the virtual network. His behavior is quite despicable. It's outrageous. He gritted his teeth, because he was also one of the victims. Thinking of the hundreds of thousands of universe dollars he was cheated of in the virtual network space, he couldn't wait to throw those shoes in Wu Wuti's face. Could it be that these two people have some connection? Some people's eyes flickered. Thinking that the two names were so similar, it might not be a coincidence. Also, they must be brothers. The swindlers are brothers, twins. An uncle who had been cheated of a large sum of money by Wu Wuti cursed. Damn! The swindlers are all family brothers together. Fuck, if I catch the swindlers, I will break their legs. He clenched his fists, wishing he could punch Wu Wuti and Master Mateto. Not necessarily, it's just a similar name, not necessarily a family. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Are there not many people with the same name in this world? Some people felt that it was just a similar name, not much of a relationship. Whether they are brothers or not. In short, Master Mateto has 300,000 soul stones on him. This is a huge amount of money. That's right. It is said that Master Mateto is just a rogue cultivator. Without any background, he simply can't keep this soul stone. If we can find you and kill him, those 300,000 soul stones will belong to us. Many people's eyes were filled with greed. As the saying goes, a man's wealth is his own ruin. Especially when a person without strength suddenly obtained a large amount of wealth, it would arouse the greed of countless criminals, just like how the smell of flesh and blood would attract sharks. 300,000 soul stones. If I can get my hands on them, my current cultivation base will definitely be able to break through. I might even be able to advance to the golden core stage. On a planet, an old man in gray robes sat in a quiet room. His eyes revealed a cold gleam. He had been stuck in this bottleneck for a long time, unable to break through. However, if he could obtain 300,000 soul stones, he would definitely be able to buy pills that could help him break through. Therefore, he was eager to find Master Mateto and kill him to seize his treasure. 300,000 soul stones cannot be lost. If we can get them, the power of our organization will definitely increase greatly. We will become the leader of the entire kingdom in one fell swoop. No one can stop us. A leader of a dark organization clenched his fist murderous. The value of 300,000 soul stones was enough to revitalize an organization, but it could also easily destroy an organization. It could buy a lot of powerful weapons, and even hire a lot of experts to work for him. If he could get them, his status would be like the sun in the sky. Immediately track Master Mateto. Report any news about Master Mateto. No matter what the clues are, don't let it go. Countless underground forces of the universe, or people with ulterior motives, issued orders to get news about Master Mateto through various intelligence organizations. One by one, intelligence organizations took action. Countless spies walked out of the streets and alleys, covering every planet. Now it was a race. Whoever could find Master Mateto first would get this huge sum of money. No matter which force it was, they all wanted it. At this moment, in a mountain peak somewhere in the soaring cloud sect, many beautiful female disciples lived in this place, and the leader of these female disciples was undoubtedly the saintess Yi Mengyao. Her strength was unfathomable. It was said that she had surpassed the old seniors and was comparable to the elders of the sect. Senior sister, I received a message. A female disciple with round eyes rushed over and went to Yi Mengyao's room to tell the news about Master Mateto. This matter caused an uproar in the surrounding star field. Countless dark forces were ready to move. All the major gangs, mercenary organizations, and even the true disciples of the major saint-level sects wanted to find Master Mateto. After all, for them, 300,000 soul stones was an unimaginable wealth. Swindler Master Mateto? Hearing these words, Yi Mengyao's beautiful eyes showed a trace of coldness. Damn swindler! Do you think I won't recognize you just because you changed your identity? This guy is definitely a big swindler, Wu Wudi. Even if it's not Wu Wudi, it must be someone related to Wu Wudi. It can't be wrong. Her intuition told her that this Master Mateto was probably the person she was looking for. Good guy. I thought this bastard only dared to stay in the virtual world and didn't dare to show up in the real world. I didn't expect him to come out and commit a crime so soon, and it's a shocking case. Yi Mengyao gritted her teeth. If this swindler continues to deceive, I don't know how many people will be deceived by him until their families are ruined. I absolutely can't let this happen. Of course, this was only the surface reason. What made her extremely angry was that this bastard had deceived her own family. Her sister seemed to have been deceived by this shameless person. All day long, she fantasized about entering the virtual world to become a mountain bandit and become a mountain king, burning, killing, and pillaging. All of this was because of this shameless person, her pure and flawless sister. If it wasn't for the appearance of Wu Wudi, how could such a thing have happened? Of course, more importantly, she wanted to take revenge on the novice village. As the saintess of the Lingyun sect, the saintess of the elves, a peerless genius that only appears once in 10,000 years, she actually suffered such humiliation. A guy like this who knew her dark history had to be killed quickly. Immediately convey my order. Thinking of this, Yi Mengyao gritted her teeth. Who knows the whereabouts of Master Mateto? Immediately tell me. I will personally go out and capture this little thief alive. What? Chapter 1198. At this moment, A spaceship was sailing in space. Whoosh! Xiaoping was sitting in the quiet room of the spaceship, inhaling and exhaling the energy between the universe. Immediately, the blood in his body trembled as if lava was flowing through every meridian. The surrounding space seemed to be in a state of distortion, and there seemed to be a divine bird totem behind him, showing a red light, like a sun, hanging high in the sky. Just a little bit more. At this moment, Xiaoping opened his eyes. He originally wanted to break through to the divine power realm, but he found that now was not the best time to do so. Although he had reached the late stage of the fulfillment realm, it was not complete. Only in this realm, when the divine sense and magical power reached a complete level, could the promotion to the divine power realm be considered a solid foundation. Otherwise, in the future, it would definitely be dragged down by an unstable foundation. Moreover, if he wanted to advance to the divine power realm, he must condense the divine power talisman and master a martial Dao divine power. If there was a slight mistake, all his previous efforts would be wasted. He needed to find an absolutely safe and quiet place, with abundant spiritual energy, to cultivate in seclusion. At this moment, he was still on the spaceship, and it was not a good place for seclusion. Beep. Suddenly, the system's voice sounded. Congratulations to the host for arousing the hatred of many soul race experts in the Blood Soul continent. This time, you have a total of 1 billion hatred points. I hope you will continue to work hard. 1 billion hatred points. Xiaoping clenched his fists and was overjoyed. In order to obtain the Soul Seal secret technique, he had spent 800 million hatred points. Now that he had 1 billion hatred points, he had made up for the loss at once. He carefully calculated that he had a total of 1.08 billion hatred points. Moreover, this trip to the Blood Soul continent was also a great harvest, obtaining 400,000 soul stones. Such a large number of soul stones was enough for him to cultivate to a higher realm. In addition, he also obtained a large number of elixirs and pills from Fan Ming and the others, and even a lot of treasured weapons. If he sold them, the value would be quite amazing. At the same time, he also obtained a large amount of money from the 7 Kills gang and the others. Excluding the 1 billion universe dollars spent to repair the stars, he had 590 million universe dollars. The money is still too little. Xiaoping touched his chin. He wanted to buy a super weapon to protect the cloud realm, but it would cost at least 10 billion universe dollars. Now he only had about 600 million universe dollars in cash, which was still too little. However, if he sold all 400,000 soul stones, he could easily raise 10 billion universe dollars. After all, the value of soul stones was quite shocking, and many cultivators were eager to get their hands on them. Should I sell the soul stone? Xiaoping said to himself. Don't sell the soul stone. Hearing this, Corinne immediately said, soul stones are quite precious ores in the universe. They can enhance soul energy. Apart from the Blood Soul continent, they are rarely seen in other places. If you sell these soul stones now, I'm afraid it will be quite difficult to find them again. Money can be earned at any time. The problem is that once the soul stones are sold, it won't be so easy to buy them back. It indicated that soul stones were much more precious than universe dollars and couldn't be sold casually. More importantly, the news that you've obtained hundreds of thousands of soul stones has spread to a dozen or so star regions nearby. Corinne said in a deep voice, countless martial artists in the universe are eyeing you covetously like a tiger watching its prey. They are always staring at people who are trying to sell large amounts of soul stones. If you sell these soul stones, many people will definitely know that you are Master Matedo. At that time, the enemies that will be attracted will be immeasurable. Of course, you have the protection of Dark North Sage, so there may not be any danger to your life. The problem is that doing so will make you the target of public criticism, and you will encounter ensuing trouble. Xiaoping nodded. He had also been reading the news on the virtual network these days. He knew that the news that Master Matedo had obtained hundreds of thousands of soul stones had already been deliberately leaked by the people of Soul Race. It was estimated that the humans in the nearby dozen or so star regions wanted to find the local tyrant Master Matedo and kill him to seize his treasures. If he sold a large number of soul stones, then everyone would know that he was Master Mateto. That's right, soul stones can't be sold. It seems that I have to find other ways to make money. Xiaoping touched his chin. Corinne said. By the way, previously on the virtual network, you used the identity of Wu Wudi to cause a lot of trouble. Now there are a bunch of people who are constantly sending private messages to you through virtual accounts, trying to contact you. Some people want to find trouble with you. Some people want to worship you as a teacher. And there are even people who want to cooperate with you to do big business. Corinne's expression was very strange. Although Xiaoping cheated more than $1 billion universe dollars, causing many people to suffer heavy losses, and also making many people hate Xiaoping very much, wishing to tear him to pieces. But there are also some people, especially some swindlers, who worship Xiaoping as an idol, hoping to learn some useful knowledge from Xiaoping and become rich overnight. After all, not every swindler can cheat more than $1 billion universe dollars and also come out unscathed. This is already the highest realm of swindling and can become a grandmaster. Who cares about those private messages? Block them all. Xiaoping waved his hand. He was too lazy to pay attention to these junk messages. No, one of them wants to cooperate with you. He claims to be the general manager of the Universe Book Media Company's branch in Flowing Cloud Starfield. The other party seems to want to cooperate with you. Corinne said in a deep voice. Universe Book Media Company? What company is this? Xiaoping asked. Corinne explained. This is the largest book media company in the whole universe. The books they produce can be found in every corner of the universe, and their influence is enormous. Although they can't compare to the Universe Express Company, the Universe Bank, and other super forces, they can also be regarded as relatively large forces, and their wealth can rival a country. The general manager of this company's branch in Flowing Cloud Star Field wants to cooperate with you. I think it is profitable. So I think it is better to inform you. Xiaoping asked. Looking for me to cooperate? What does that company's branch manager want to cooperate with me for? How does he want to cooperate to swindle money? He looked puzzled. He seems to want to cooperate with you to publish a book about swindling. The corners of Corinne's mouth twitched. That guy seems to think that you are a grandmaster of swindling, and also very famous. If you publish a book, it will definitely attract a lot of people to buy it, thereby making a lot of money. Corinne felt that the branch manager was definitely not a good person, digging into the pile of money. Interesting. Then contact him and see what he wants to do, Xiaoping said. Okay. Corinne nodded and immediately contacted the general manager. Chapter 1199. Whoosh. With a thought, Xiaoping entered the virtual network and arrived at a virtual space. The virtual space could be set to whatever he wanted. Xiaoping had set this virtual space as a living room with a sofa, a coffee table, a television, and so on. The decorations were very fashionable. Following this, another figure appeared in the space. Xiaoping took a closer look and realized that this person was 2 meters tall and very fat. He looked like he weighed a ton. He had horns on his head and a pig nose. He wore a black suit and a red tie. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and looked like a cunning businessman. He could tell at a glance that this was a pig demon. However, this was nothing in the universe. The human race and the demon race had been living together for a long time. There were all kinds of races, so it was not surprising. Mr. Wu, you are finally willing to communicate with me. That's great. Nice to meet you. My name is Germa. I am the person in charge of the Universe Book Media Company in the Flowing Cloud Star region. Germa smiled and introduced himself, looking very friendly. Let's cut to the chase. I am a very direct person. What do you want from me? Xiaoping asked straightforwardly. Germa nodded. Mr. Wu, you are indeed a straightforward person. I will be straightforward. The reason why I am looking for you is that I want you to write a book about scams. According to your current reputation, if you can write such a book, it will definitely sell well. His eyes flashed with the cunning light of a businessman. To be honest, he was interested in Xiaoping's reputation. It did not matter if it was a bad reputation or a good one. Anyway, If everyone knew about it, it would be profitable. Just like a celebrity, he had great fame and many fans. However, fame alone was not enough. No matter how good one's fame was, it could not be used to make a living. Therefore, one had to cash in one's fame. Publishing a book was a way to cash in one's fame. Xiaoping also knew that in his previous life on Earth, many celebrities would choose to publish books, autobiographies, or scandals. They would then find someone to write it for them. It did not matter if the book was good or not. In short, with the celebrity's fame, it could attract the public's interest and attract the interest of fans. Such a book would definitely sell and make a lot of money. In the past, the most famous person on Earth who published books was the President of the United States. Once the president left office, he would definitely publish a book and write an autobiography. Such a famous person could earn tens of millions of dollars. This was an income that ordinary people could never earn in their entire lives. Obviously, Gilma had taken a fancy to Xiaoping's recent reputation in the flowing cloud galaxy. That was why he wanted to cooperate with Xiaoping. He wanted to take advantage of this momentum and make a fortune. To put it crudely, with fame, even if you wrote a bunch of nonsense, there would still be many people who would buy it. Publish a book? Interesting, tell me more about it. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes. He didn't mind Germa's intentions at all. Those who didn't have any value were basically useless. In this world, if I'm not using you, then you're using me. In short, this would bring him a large amount of universe coins, which was the most practical thing. Seeing that Xiaoping seemed to be interested, Germa immediately said, "That's right, publishing a book. Of course, if you don't know how to write, our company also has many outstanding writers. They can all help you write. We can sign a profit-sharing agreement with you. If you sell it, you can get 30% of the profit." He stretched out 3 fingers. Obviously, he didn't care whether Xiaoping had the ability to write or not. He just wanted to use Xiaoping's fame to make a fortune. 30% of the profit? Xiaoping looked at Germa with a faint smile. Using my fame to make money, and only giving me 30%? Isn't that a bit too much? At least 90%. Mr. Wu, you're the one who's going too far. Germa screamed. Our company is responsible for helping with publicity and opening up sales channels. We also have to find someone to write for us, go through editing, typesetting, and so on. All of this costs money, and the cost is outrageous. You didn't do anything, and you want to take 90%? Do you want us to starve? That's impossible. There's no room for negotiation. Xiaoping shook his head. I don't need to find someone to write for me. I can write it myself. Also, without my fame, without the celebrity effect, you probably won't be able to make money. 90% is still too high. 50% at most. Any more and it won't do. Germa shook his head. He couldn't accept such a profit-sharing ratio at all. If they could only get 10%, how could they make money? Wouldn't they be working for the other party? Also, as the person in charge of the Universe Book Media Company in the Flowing Cloud Star region, he had to make a profit every year. If he couldn't make a profit, he would probably be demoted or even punished. Of course, if he did well, he would receive praise from the head office. He might even be able to enter the head office and take up a position, rising to the top in a single bound. This was the highest goal of every person in charge of a branch company. 70%. Xiaoping looked at Germa. I need at least 70% of the profit. Any lower, and I won't be able to do anything. I can only give up on working with you. He also wanted to take all the profits, but that was impossible. The so-called working together meant that everyone would only work together if there were benefits. Otherwise, only a fool would work together with you. 70% was his bottom line. Of course, I'm not making things difficult for you. If this book doesn't sell in the tens of millions, I won't take a single cent. Xiaoping could sign a VM agreement with the other party. Tens of millions of sales? Germa was instantly shocked. One must know that in this era, ordinary books basically didn't have much sales. Most of the best-selling books were martial arts secret manuals, which could make people stronger. However, these martial arts secret manuals were controlled by many saint-level sects, and they were not qualified to get a share of the profits. Therefore, if one wanted to sell in the tens of millions of copies, it had to be a popular book of the year. He had been the person in charge of the Flowing Cloud Star Field Branch Company for decades, but he had not published many such books. Although Wu Wuti was indeed a little famous in the Flowing Cloud Star Field and several other major star fields, would tens of millions of people really buy a book like this? According to his estimation, it would be considered good if it sold in the millions, which had already exceeded his expectations. If it sold in the tens of millions of copies, it would really be possible only if a miracle happened. All right, since Mr. Wu is so confident, I naturally won't refuse. Thinking of this, Germa immediately decided to agree to Xiaoping's conditions. If it didn't sell in the tens of millions of copies, then he didn't need to pay a single cent. This was like getting something without risking anything. Even if it really reached the tens of millions of copies, he wouldn't lose out. No matter how he looked at it, this was an extremely cost-effective deal, and there was no reason to refuse. All right, then let's sign the contract. Xiaoping smiled slightly. Germa acted swiftly and decisively. To avoid any undue delay, he immediately ordered his secretary to quickly draw up a contract. Corinne used his many years of experience to carefully examine it and felt that there was no problem with the contract. It was very fair, and the other party didn't play any tricks, so it could be signed. Therefore, Xiaoping and Germa signed the contract. But Mr. Wu, how do you plan to write it? Germa asked curiously. After all, fame was only auxiliary. The content of the book was the most important. If the quality of the book was not good, it would be impossible to reach tens of millions of copies. After all, not all people were fools. Chapter 1200. A few days later, Xiaoping contacted Germa again. After spending 3 days, he had finally finished writing the Encyclopedia of Deception. 36 Stratagems of Deception? When Germa saw the name of the book, he could not help but be stunned. Is this the masterpiece written by Wu Wuti? To be honest, he was not very optimistic about Wu Wuti's book. After all, he was an old fox who had been immersed in this field for hundreds of years. He had seen all kinds of authors and all kinds of books. He knew very well what it meant to be a world apart. Although this kid had some achievements in the world of deception, it did not mean that he could write a good book. These were two different fields. However, he did not immediately criticize it. He wanted to take a good look at what was written before deciding. If it really did not make sense, he would still suggest that the kid use a gunman. No matter what, he could not screw up this big deal. When he opened the book, he immediately saw a clear title. The First Stratagem of Deception, Beauty Trap. Good heavens! Germa was stunned because it described in detail how to use a beauty to deceive others. As the saying went, seduction is like a knife on top of your head. The ancients had also said that seduction was the root of human nature. Perhaps some ascetics could get rid of it, but most life forms could not. The beauty trap was a method of deceiving people using this instinct. For example, it used some men's desire to hunt for women as the source. To put it simply, it was love. How could a normal man resist a beautiful woman throwing herself at him? Hence, when the beauty brought the man somewhere and was about to do something shameful, the beauty's accomplice would suddenly appear in front of him. In order to not let the matter spread, or to protect himself, the seductive man would give his money to the pair of accomplices, and they would achieve the goal of extortion. Of course, this was just a low-level use of the beauty trap. What was even more impressive was that the beauty found a very rich old man and threw herself at him. Then she quickly married him. In less than half a year, the beauty found an opportunity to divorce the other party. In the end, according to the marriage law, half of the property was given away. At that time, both the person and the money were gone. If the other party was even more ruthless, he could secretly poison the other party to death. When that happened, all the property would be hers. This was a scam. Not only did she want money, but she also wanted his life. Amazing. Germa had goosebumps all over his body. He had never thought that there would be such a sinister scheme in this world. If that was the case, would the word of those beautiful women still exist in this world? Don't tell me they're here for my money, he asked himself. If a beautiful woman suddenly threw herself into his arms, as a healthy man, he wouldn't be able to resist. He wouldn't be able to control his lower body at all. However, if he did that, he would fall into someone else's trap. When the time came, he would lose both his money and his life. Suddenly, he felt that the world was full of evil, and the basic trust between people was gone. The 16th trick of deception. Guillermo continued to watch. If he wanted to achieve his goal of deception, he could not be overbearing and take advantage of the other party's arrogance. He had to first give the other party some benefits to make the other party lower their guard. After gaining the other party's trust, he would then proceed to deceive them. This was usually successful in every endeavor. It was like the financial pyramid scheme in today's society. Some fund managers would brag that as long as one invested in their fund, they could earn 5% interest every month. They could earn 60% in a year and double it in 2 years. They could buy a house in 3 years and buy a plane in 4 years. At first, some people didn't believe it. However, when the first month's interest was received, the second month's interest was received, and the third month's interest was also received. Slowly, people started to believe it. At that time, not only did he invest, but he also pulled his family and friends to invest. He was completely crazy and fell into the dream of realizing his wealth freedom in 2 years and buying a car and a house. Little did he know that a few months later, the scammer would have already closed the net and run away with all the money. Back then, you were interested in the interest, but the scammer was interested in your capital. At that time, it was too late for you to cry. This was the brilliance of playing hard to get. This kind of human greed had always been present since ancient times. It had never changed and would always appear. The 34th trick of deception, the trick of injuring oneself to gain sympathy. Guillermo continued to watch. This trick was very simple. It was to deliberately use a tragic experience to gain sympathy from others. The simpler way was to become a beggar, using their handicapped body and tragic experience to gain sympathy from others. In this way, they would receive a large amount of money. During festivals, such people would often appear on the streets and alleys. The more complicated way was to set up a welfare fund. With the excuse of helping the many people in difficulty, they would raise funds from the public and hope that rich people from all walks of life would donate. When the money entered their pockets, what they wanted to do was their internal affairs. No one would know. Brilliant. This is really brilliant. Guillermo felt chills all over his body. Cold sweat appeared on his forehead. This was not as simple as a book. It directly pointed out the weaknesses of human nature. The whole book showed the common characteristics of life: arrogance, jealousy, greed, gluttony, rage, reaping without sowing, lust, and so on. In fact, the so-called deception was a method of using human weakness to deceive others. Master, you really are a master. Guillermo was full of admiration. Without years of experience in deceiving, grandmaster-like methods, and demon-like wisdom, how could one write such a book? This was no longer as simple as a book. It was basically a work of art, a masterpiece. Previously, he had looked down on the other party and thought that he could not write anything. But now that he looked at it, how could the gunman under him compare? Every line and column contained a broad and profound theory of deception. It made one's whole body tremble. You're too polite. It's not worth mentioning. It's just some insignificant advantages, Xiaoping said modestly. The reason why he could write this book was because he stood on the shoulders of giants. He had the shocking works from his previous life. It was the basis of the 36 stratagems of the military. In fact, the 36 stratagems were not as simple as military thinking. They could be raised to the height of philosophy. They were suitable for all walks of life. In his previous life, many big shots treated it as a treasure book. Every time they read it, they would receive great inspiration. Applying this kind of thinking to trickery was just a small test of his abilities. Master, you can't be deceiving me now, right? Are you eyeing the shares of our Universe Book Media Company? To be honest, I don't have much money on me. I'm so poor that my pants are falling off. Please don't set your sights on me. Guillermo looked at Xiaoping guiltily. After reading this book, he respected Xiaoping as if he was a god. This guy was definitely a master in the world of deceiving, the kind that had reached perfection. Maybe with just a few words, he would be able to deceive him completely. To be honest, staying together with such a super swindler gave him great psychological pressure. Only now did he feel afraid. What kind of terrifying person was he staying together with? His identity as the person in charge of the Universe Book Media Company in the Flowing Cloud Star region did not give him a sense of security. On the contrary, a person like him would be targeted by a swindler. After all, which swindler would target a poor person? Chapter 1201. Don't worry, I'm a man of principle. I won't lie to just anyone. Xia Ping patted his chest to show that he was a man of principle. Thank you, I'm relieved. The corner of Germa's mouth twitched. He did not know why, but at the same time, he felt a little aggrieved. If that was the case, he would not even have the value of being deceived. But no matter what, at least he did not have to worry about being deceived until he had nothing left. But what should we do next? Germa humbly asked for Xia Ping's opinion. Now that Xia Ping was his leader, he really did not dare to offend such a powerful person. Let's hold a press conference. Publishing a book has to be done with great fanfare. Otherwise, how would people know? This is not the era where good wine fears no dark alley. Without publicity, who would know what you're doing? Xia Ping said with a smile. Press conference. Germa's expression was strange. A scammer holding a press conference was too high profile. However, this coincided with his thoughts. If he wanted to sell more books, he naturally had to publicize it. Moreover, he had to publicize it vigorously. What's the price of this book? Germa asked. $100 per book, Xia Ping replied casually. What? Germa was shocked. Ordinary books were only $5 per book, and the more expensive ones were only $10 to $20. $100 per book was too much. He was about to ask who would buy such an expensive book, but after thinking about it carefully, the value of this book was astonishing. It could be said to be a comprehensive collection of scams. If it was carefully studied by a dedicated person, he would definitely gain a lot. The ideological value contained in it was more than $100. Books had a price, but knowledge was priceless. Okay, I got it. Germa immediately swallowed all the words in his stomach. Then he went back and began to arrange for people to hold a press conference and various publicity activities. One day later, the news of the great swindler Wu Wudi's plan to hold a press conference and even plan to publish a book spread throughout the 5 major star fields ruled by the Soaring Cloud sect. Most people knew about it. In particular, the people of the virtual city, Far East City, were shocked because the location of the press conference was in a luxurious restaurant in Far East City. At that time, many news reporters and readers would be invited to attend. Fuck his 18 generations of ancestors. That damned liar actually dared to show up. And he even held a press conference so brazenly and shamelessly. Why doesn't he just die? A person from the Far East City immediately cursed, and his face turned green with anger. As someone who had been cheated by Xia Ping of tens of thousands of universe dollars, he wanted to catch Xia Ping and beat him up. I thought that bastard had already disappeared without a trace after cheating so much money. I didn't expect him to show up again, and even want to publish a book. Someone gritted his teeth. Fuck. What kind of book does he want to publish? Is he trying to expose the inside story of how he cheated us of our hard-earned money? He was so angry that his teeth itched. Not only had this damned Wu Wudi cheated them of so much money, but now he wanted to sprinkle salt on their wounds and build his own happiness on their pain. He even wanted to use this matter to make a lot of money. This fellow had raised the method of making money to the level of art. He was completely making money through the holes. He was shameless to the extreme. We definitely won't allow him to publish a book. Someone roared. He cheated us of so much money. And now he wants to publish a book to make money. He wants to become an author and completely clear his name. Is there such a good thing in this world? As a liar, he actually dares to be so high profile. He's too arrogant. Does he think that we the victims are made of mud? Does he really think that no one can do anything to him? He was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He thought that he would hear news about Wu Wudi again, because this bastard liar had been arrested. He did not expect that this kid was planning to publish a book, and even wanted to hold a press conference. With such an appearance, he looked like a big star. He even invited news reporters and television reporters to interview him. What kind of liar would be as high profile and arrogant as him? He wanted nothing more than to catch Xiaoping and give him a good beating for trying to make a fortune. Hold a bullshit press conference. If he dares to come, we'll smash the venue. That's right. This kid is simply too arrogant. He even dares to appear in Far East City. Brothers and sisters, he doesn't take us, the angry masses, seriously. This liar is extremely arrogant. If we don't teach him a lesson this time, we'll be idiots. Yes, we have to destroy his press conference. If we have the chance, we'll catch him and make him spit out all the money. Many people shouted, and there was a sense of surging public sentiment. But this is a city in the virtual world, and it's also a safe zone. We can't do anything to him at all. If things get out of hand, we'll be the unlucky ones. Someone said helplessly. If it were in the real world, they could totally go to his door and look for trouble, smashing and robbing. The problem was that this was the virtual world, and there were unique rules. There was no way to cause trouble. They would be immediately chased out by the rules, and they might even be punished by not being able to log in. It could be said that that bastard Wu Wuti was simply fearless. He had already calculated this point. Everyone, this damn liar suddenly appeared, but he's so high profile. Is he plotting something? Is he planning something bad again? Is he planning a shocking scam to lure us into it? Someone said warily. He was afraid of Xiaoping's scheme. It was really like being bitten once, afraid of ropes for 3 years. What are you afraid of? As long as he doesn't pay, we don't have to worry about losses. That's right. This time we have to be more vigilant. He can't possibly deceive us. We've been tricked once, and he wants us to be tricked a second time. He's simply dreaming. This time, let's see what tricks this kid has up his sleeve. Everyone gritted their teeth. They had already decided that they had to cause trouble at the press conference and ruin this bastard's plan. Only then could they vent their anger. At this moment, Yi Mengyao also heard the news. What? That swindler has appeared again? After hearing the news, Yi Mengyao was shocked. Previously, she had been tracking Wu Wuti's whereabouts, but she had not found any clues. She was afraid that Wu Wuti would disappear without a trace. She did not expect this bastard to be so arrogant. He actually dared to hold a press conference, and even set the venue in Far East City. Chapter 1202. A day later, on the 3rd floor of the White Cloud restaurant in Far East City. At this moment, countless reporters and victims heard the news and gathered at this place. They basically surrounded the restaurant so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. There were 3 floors inside and 3 floors outside. It's so lively. I didn't expect this kid to have such a big influence. Lively my ass. We're all here to educate this bastard. I haven't seen him for a few months, and now he's finally showing his face. How can we let him off this time? Everyone gritted their teeth and stared at the stage of the book launch. Unlike the people in Far East City, many of the reporters present were looking forward to it. It seemed that there would be big news today. They swarmed over like sharks that smelled blood. No one liked to blow things up more than they did. Wu Wuti is coming out. Someone yelled. Suddenly, they saw Wu Wuti coming out from behind the stage, followed by a large group of bodyguards in black suits. He was like an influential figure, walking majestically and looking dignified. Snap, snap. Countless reporters immediately took photos and froze the scene. Far East City was furious. He was just a swindler. Why was he pretending here? Did he not have any shame? This guy was so thick-skinned that even a Star Destroyer cannon could not penetrate him. Hello everyone. Thank you for attending my book launch. Xiaoping waved his hand, showing the demeanor of a big star. Thank you. We're all here to cause trouble. Many people gritted their teeth and stared at Xiaoping. However, they were in Far East City, in the virtual world, so they did not dare to act rashly. Mr. Wu, may I know the name of the new book you're going to release this time? A reporter immediately asked. Xiaoping said, It's called 36 Stratagems of Deception. This book mainly describes all kinds of deception in the world. All of them are based on my own experience. The content is rich. I believe that everyone will definitely get their money's worth if they buy it. 36 Stratagems of Deception. The group of people's faces turned green. It was one thing for this bastard to be a swindler, but now he wanted to publish a book. Did he want to teach more swindlers? What was this guy thinking? How much did this bastard want to corrupt society before he gave up? Was he afraid that there were not enough swindlers in the world, so he wanted to cultivate a batch of them? Of course, the purpose of this book is not to teach everyone how to cheat, but to use this book to expose the scams in this world, so that everyone can be on their guard. Xiaoping said carelessly. It can be said that from another point of view, this is actually a treasure book to prevent people from being deceived. It lets everyone know the dangers of the world. To be honest, I'm worried about this era, where trust between people has reached a freezing point. Even the most basic trust is gone. There are scams everywhere, all aimed at the money in your wallet. I hope that after this book is published, it can change the status quo of this society and reduce the losses of everyone. This can also be considered my contribution to this book. He had a compassionate look on his face, expressing that he was not publishing this book to make money, but purely to do good deeds and to save this hopeless society. Bullshit. Everyone wanted nothing more than to bite this bastard to death. Did he still have any shame? The person who had the least right to say such words was this bastard, who was the one who had scammed millions of people in Far East City and earned more than $1 billion universe dollars. Now he had the nerve to say that the basic trust between people was gone. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many bastards like him, how could this have happened? The most infuriating thing was that the previous matter had not been resolved yet, and now Wuxia had changed from a swindler to a master of deception. He wanted to move from the dark world to the bright stage, making himself seem like a righteous messenger. He was really shameless to the extreme. Did he know what etiquette and shame were? Did he have any sense of shame? I wonder how much this book costs. A reporter asked. Xiaoping said with a smile. That's a good question. The price is not particularly expensive. You can buy one book for 100 universe dollars. If you buy a lot, you can even get a 9% discount. He gave a discount. Fuck, 100 universe dollars. This was clearly daylight robbery. A group of people looked at Xiaoping in disdain. He had just said that he did not publish the book to make money. What was going on now? 100 universe dollars for such a lousy book. If this was not daylight robbery, what was? Even martial arts secret manuals in this universe were at most a few dozen universe dollars. But a secret manual about deception costs 100 universe dollars. If this was not daylight robbery, what was? He even said that he could get a discount if he bought a lot. And he even said that he could get a 9% discount. What was the use of this little discount? It was the same as not having it. This guy was simply stingy to the extreme. But then again, even if there was a discount, they would not buy this swindler's book even if they were beaten to death. They would let this fellow starve and not let him earn a single cent. At this moment, someone in the audience shouted loudly, "Thank you, Mr. Wu. I didn't expect that in this materialistic society, there would be a good person like Mr. Wu who would stand up and wave the flag for social morality. It's really touching. I've decided to buy 100 books this time, as a form of support for Mr. Wu." Tears streamed down his face, as if he was deeply moved. Although I haven't read it yet, I know that Mr. Wu's book is definitely extraordinary. It's worth it. What's 100 universe dollars? It's just the money for a meal. That's right. Although my monthly salary is only 2,000 universe dollars, I've decided to take out 1,500 universe dollars to buy 15 books to support Mr. Wu. The remaining 500 universe dollars will be used to pay for rent, and I'll live on instant noodles for this month. It seems like life is a little hard, but it's worth it to support Mr. Wu. Everyone, don't stop me. I want to buy 100 books. If you stop me, I'll fight it out with you. Suddenly, some people stood up and waved the flag, shouting at the top of their lungs. They said that even if they did not eat, they would buy books to support Wuxia and contribute to society. Fuck scammers, they were all scammers. Many people's faces turned green. This fellow was still acting cool earlier, saying that he would turn over a new leaf in the future, that he would no longer cheat, and that he would start to become a master of fraud prevention. What was going on now? He found a bunch of scammers. Moreover, it was obvious to anyone with a discerning eye that these scammers were here to wave the flag and shout for him. Was he shameless? I didn't expect everyone to be so enthusiastic. Don't worry, everyone. I've already prepared a lot of books. There's no need to queue up. Everyone can log on to this website and choose to buy directly. It doesn't matter if it's a real book or an electronic book. Chapter 1203. The book conference ended very quickly, but what happened here quickly spread throughout the 5 star fields ruled by the Soaring Cloud sect. One by one, the reporters published the news. The return of the prodigal son? The path of redemption for the great swindler Wuxia. The 36 stratagems of deception. Is it a treasure book to prevent deception, or a treasure book to deceive people? What do you think? Explosive sales. Someone ordered 100 copies at the new book conference. He would rather eat dirt to buy a book. What kind of charm does it have? The news headlines were published and spread to thousands of households. It even made the headlines, so that everyone in the 5 star fields knew about it. It caused an uproar. There was also the help of the Universe Book Media Company. They had long mastered this kind of publicity. They had mastered many publicity channels, and had deep cooperation with major media outlets. Therefore, the news spread, and became the headline of the day. The moral degeneration of the world is getting worse and worse. In this day and age, even swindlers have started to write books. Is there any justice in this world? Why hasn't the police arrested this bastard yet? Didn't they say that he cheated people of more than $1 billion universe dollars? Fuck, this guy is a swindler. He's actually pretending to be a master of deception here. It's simply bullshit. He's definitely up to no good again. Everyone don't believe him. What kind of bullshit book is this? I'd never buy it even if you beat me to death. That's right. Everyone, don't buy this swindler's book. Let him lose everything and teach him a painful lesson. Spread this news. If we buy this swindler's book, we're all inhumane. Many people were furious when they heard the news. They were simply furious. It was fine if they didn't arrest this guy and lock him up for decades. He actually came out to stir up trouble, become a writer, and even published a book. He even wanted to take the opportunity to make a fortune. How could they accept such a thing? Especially those people from Far East City. They wanted to catch Xiaoping and beat him up. He still wanted them to buy his book. It was simply wishful thinking. Things are a little troublesome. At this time, Germa realized that the situation was getting worse. In order to stop Xiaoping's book from becoming popular, the group of people from Far East City immediately used all kinds of means to obstruct it. Some people were still spreading the news, calling for the masses to boycott Xiaoping's books. They would rather eat sex than buy this scammer's books, lest they continue to be poisoned by Wuxia. In an instant, this group of people established the invincible alliance against martial arts. If this were to continue, it would be wishful thinking for the books to reach 10 million sales. It's fine. Let this group of people continue to jump. The more they jump, the more the news will spread. This is exactly what I want. Xiaoping touched his chin. He felt that this was a huge opportunity. Crises could often turn into opportunities. What do you want to do? Germa asked curiously. Xiaoping said with a smile. Of course it's to muddy the water and continue to hype it up. When it came to creating hype, he was a master at it. There were probably not many people who could compare to him. Thinking of this, he immediately ordered Germa's subordinates to register many sock puppets and spread the news on the internet. Everyone is condemning Wuxia, but I have a different opinion. One of the sock puppets wrote a post. Yes, Wuxia has made mistakes in the past. Perhaps he has unintentionally hurt many people. But who is innocent? Who can guarantee that they did not make mistakes? The most important thing is to have the determination to correct after making a mistake. That is the prodigal son who has turned over a new leaf. You can't just kill a person after making a mistake and never be able to turn over a new leaf in this life, right? Now Wu Woody knows that he was wrong. He knows that it's wrong to deceive people. So he used his years of experience to write a compendium of deceit to prevent more people from falling for it. This is a good deed of great virtue. But everyone is actually calling for the death of a person who has turned over a new leaf, a person who is determined to do good. I think this is a little unreasonable. Xia Ping's sock puppets wrote a bunch of content, constantly trying to clear his name. That's right, the original poster has spoken my mind. Finally, a sensible person has come out to speak up for justice. In fact, I also think that group of people are crazy. They bite everyone they see. They just published a book. If they want to buy it, they don't buy it. If they don't want to buy it, they don't buy it. This is a free trade. Why are they acting like a cult to stop others? I think there's something wrong with those people's brains. That's right. Who do they think they are? God. What right do they have to stop us? Several sock puppets were flattering and constantly attacking others. Many people felt the same way when they saw this message. After all, in the 5 major star fields, there were very few people who had been deceived by Xia Ping. At most, there were only 1 million people, like a drop in the ocean. Therefore, they did not feel the pain that the people from Far East City felt. Naturally, they could not empathize with them. Instead, they felt that this group of people was crazy to go around slandering Wu Woody. If no one had said this, they would not have felt anything. However, with someone taking the lead to attack, they immediately seemed to have found their backbone and gathered together. Hearing these words, the people from Far East City were furious. Internet Water Army. These are all fucking Wu Woody's Internet Water Army. Everyone don't believe their words. Don't be led astray by them. What prodigal son? That's bullshit. To put it bluntly, can a dog change its mind? The reason why he published a book is not to turn over a new leaf, nor is it to do good deeds. It's purely to earn money. That's right, that's right. If a swindler like him is not punished and becomes a celebrity, he will become a master. In the long run, there will be no justice in this society. If the prodigal son really turns over a new leaf, he will return the money. Ask that bastard to return the money to us. If that's the case, we will believe him and definitely not obstruct him again. The people of Far East City were furious and kept refuting the words of those sock puppets. They felt that there was clearly an internet water army trying to change the direction of public opinion. Moreover, their methods were extremely clever. It's impossible to return the money. Don't even think about returning it in this lifetime. He cheated the money with his own ability. Why should he return it? That's right. As the saying goes, once stung, one gains wisdom. Who told you to be stupid? Otherwise, why would you be deceived? That's right, that's right. This is the so-called IQ tax. If you pay it now, you won't be deceived in the future. From a certain point of view, you have to think Wu Woody. Otherwise, you don't know how much loss you will suffer in the future. You're stupid and you're blaming others. Do you have to blame the planet for not having gravity if you can't pull out SI? Several sock puppets said disdainfully and mockingly. What? When the people of Far East City heard these words, they were furious. Their lungs almost exploded as they retorted frantically. Chapter 1204. Xia Ping's sock puppet and the people of Far East City, coupled with the spread of the news, made more and more ordinary people in the 5-star fields know about the 36 stratagems of deception. A book written by a super swindler who cheated more than $1 billion universe dollars? What's written in it? It's said that it's the life experience of the great swindler Wu Woody. It's not cheap. It's $100 universe dollars. No way. Even martial arts manuals don't cost that much. He must be crazy about money to dare to offer such a price. It's enough to prove that Wu Woody is confident that it's really worth that much money. I don't think even one book will be sold. It's too expensive. If it's $5 universe dollars, I might be interested. Many ordinary people knew about this news. They had not been tricked by Xia Ping, so they did not shout to kill him like the people of Far East City. They only felt that the name Wu Woody was a little familiar. He was a super swindler who cheated more than $1 billion universe dollars. But that was the most they could think of. Many people were very interested in the book written by such a swindler. They wanted to know what was written in it. But the price of $100 universe dollars scared many people away. Apart from that, there were also people who wanted to buy the book. The great swindler Wu Wudi's new book, 36 Stratagems of Deception. It looks quite impressive. I wonder what's written. It's just 100 universe dollars. It's just a small amount of money. I'll buy it and take a look. I hope the content doesn't disappoint me. Otherwise, I'll definitely cause trouble for Wu Wudi. Some of these people were not short of money. 100 universe dollars was just a drop in the bucket for them. It was nothing at all for them to buy a book. Although the proportion of these people in the 5 major star regions was not very high, the huge number of people still caused the sales of the book 36 Stratagems of Deception to increase crazily. 10,000 copies, 20,000 copies, 50,000 copies, 100,000 copies. The sales volume increased at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, it rushed into the top 10,000 of the Flowing Cloud Star Field's annual bestseller list. And the ranking was still increasing crazily. This is great. Germa was extremely excited when he heard his subordinates report the sales figures of the book. In just one day, the sales volume had exceeded 1 million. It was selling so well that it made people's hair stand on end. Although he was very confident about the sales of this book, he did not expect it to be so popular. However, the reason why there was such a sales result was also thanks to the people in Far East City. If it wasn't for them jumping around and pestering everywhere, how could so many people know about it? The publicity effect was excellent. Continue to promote the book. Increase the power of the promotion. Invite famous people from all walks of life to comment on this book. Germa immediately ordered his subordinates to increase the promotion of the book. He even asked celebrities from all walks of life to promote the book. He believed that with the help of these celebrities, the reputation of the book would definitely rise to another level. This was just the beginning. When the people of Far East City heard this news, they immediately felt despair. They had clearly spent a lot of effort to stop this book from selling well, but they didn't expect that in just one day, the number of sales would exceed 1 million. This caused them to be extremely shocked. How is this possible? Why did this happen? Didn't I request to boycott this book? Why are there still so many people buying? Immediately, someone shouted in grief and indignation. Moreover, a book costs 100 universe dollars. Spending so much money to buy a scammer's book, how can there be so many idiots in the world? He simply could not understand. Even if they hadn't stopped him, it would be normal for such an expensive book not to be bought. However, this situation had happened. It was too unbelievable. Big brother, I secretly bought this book and read it carefully. It's normal for this book to sell well. It's well deserved. That bastard is really capable. Someone sighed and said, after reading this book, I realized that this world is full of scams. If you're greedy, you'll definitely fall into a scammer's trap. You'll lose a lot of money and benefit a lot. Although I don't want to admit it, that Wu Wudi is indeed a grandmaster in the world of scams. A person's reputation is like a tree's shadow. It's not an undeserved reputation. He's only half-baked. He expressed that this book was not undeserved. That's right, the 36 Stratagems of Deception. Each stratagem is soul-stirring and frightening. It goes straight to the heart's Tao and targets the weaknesses of human nature. It's impossible to guard against. The easiest to be fooled is the beauty trap. I was fooled by a young beauty before. She used her 36D to make me dizzy. She brought me to a high-end restaurant and ate a sky-high dinner. In the end, she cheated me of a large sum of money. I lost 3 months of my salary. I regret it. What's the use of a beauty trap? The trick of self-injury is the most frustrating. Using our sympathy to earn money, and willingly giving the money away, it's impossible to guard against. A beauty trap plus a trick of self-injury is the most invincible. A young beauty once cried in front of me, saying that her family was poor. She had 2 bedridden parents and 3 younger brothers. 2 younger sisters had to go to school, and were crying piteously. She was the only one working in the family. In the end, I was moved to tears and lost all my money. Later, I found out that she was a scammer, a swindler. If you ask me, the scariest thing is a series of stratagems. One stratagem after another trapping you. By the time you realize it, you have already fallen into the trap and have nowhere to escape. Fuck, how many people did that bastard deceive to have such penetrating insight? It's too scary. I reckon that cheating us of our money was just a small test. In fact, it's because we are greedy. If we weren't greedy, we wouldn't have been fooled. It's easier said than done. If we weren't greedy, would we still be human? The people of Far East City sighed with emotion. They expressed that this book had broadened their horizons. There were actually so many kinds of scams in the world. It was terrifying. Seeing this group of people discussing enthusiastically, someone immediately shouted angrily, "What the fuck is going on? Didn't I tell you not to buy this swindler's book, even if you were beaten to death? Now that all of you have read it, could it be that all of you have bought his book? You're giving that guy money again. Do you still have any dignity? Do you have any backbone?" He was furious. He had thought that something had gone wrong. But he didn't expect that his own people would be the first to betray him and run to buy that swindler's book. Was there such a logic in this world? This is mainly because we want to understand what that swindler wrote. Yeah, there's nothing we can do about it. I'm still curious. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will always be victorious. If we don't understand that swindler's situation, how can we defeat him? That's right. Brilliant. However, this sentence seems to be from that book. Brother, it seems that you read the book very carefully. The premise of these schemes is to know the person you are deceiving like the back of your hand. Only then can you win every battle. This is truly the truth. There is nothing more in the world than this. I didn't expect you to have such comprehension, brother. You understood it after reading it once. No. I'm very stupid. I only understood a little after reading it more than 10 times. The group of people looked very awkward and embarrassed. However, after saying the contents of the book, they began to discuss excitedly again. Read my ass. Chapter 1205. As time passed, the book continued to sell like hotcakes. Coupled with Germa's crazy promotion, more and more people came to know about Xiaoping's book, especially some literary masters. They also took notice of this best-selling book. Many masters were shocked when they saw it. Modernist literary master Pushkin sighed. Ever since I found out about this book, I've been studying it all night. I've been tossing and turning in bed. I've read it dozens of times. This is a modernist literary work. Wu Wuti isn't just a swindler. He's a master of philosophy, a master of human nature, and a master of Buddhism. He's well versed in the way of human nature, and can see through human nature like a demon. The 36 stratagems of deception. Each stratagem is filled with human wisdom. It's really amazing. He was full of praise for the book. Classical writer Lu Guantong had the same thought. Previously, I suspected that he was just a swindler. Even if he was proficient in all kinds of deception, what tricks could he write? I reckon he was just trying to impress the public and wrote this book to earn money. Who knows, this book might even have been written by someone else. But after reading this book, I feel a chill run down my spine. It's as if Wu Wuti's soul appears above every scam in the entire universe. It's all-encompassing and omnipotent. Other than a master, who else can write such a book? If a ghostwriter had this ability, he would have become a master long ago. He wouldn't have waited until now. He strongly recommended this book, and was not stingy with his words of praise. He kept recommending this book to others. Romantic writer Sabia also said, I agree with everyone. On the surface, this is a book about deception, and seems to be teaching others how to deceive. But in fact, it's teaching people to prevent scams, and prevent trouble before it happens. It's a book that teaches people to do good and accumulate virtue. It's a book that advocates peace. It's the best book of the year. Everyone should buy a copy. In addition to these critics, many young writers also expressed their opinions. Before I read this book, I thought that trickery was a lowly act that specialized in deceiving fools. But after reading this book, I realized that I was wrong. Trickery is simply a kind of art. It is an action that can only be taken after understanding human nature. Every action is filled with philosophical thoughts, and is thought-provoking. Greed, lust, gluttony, anger, pride, jealousy, and sloth are the 7 deadly sins of human nature. The 36 stratagems of deception vividly display these human weaknesses, sending chills down one's spine. If he didn't have many years of experience and astonishing wisdom, how could he have written such a shocking book? I wonder how many people Wu Wudi has deceived to have such penetrating insight. I can't imagine. I estimate that the number of people he's deceived is astonishing, and countless people have been deceived by him. I can't imagine. I estimate that the number of people he has deceived is astonishing, and the number of people who have been deceived by him is uncountable. If he didn't become AS, but rather he would be the same. This is the best book of the year. If you don't read it, it'll be a waste of your life. All the writers were not stingy with their praises. They were shocked by the contents of the book, expressing that the truth contained in the book went straight to their hearts. This was because this was a master of deception who took action. He had gained insight through many years of experience. Every sentence contained his thoughts on life, which made people think deeply and benefited a lot. Many influential writers in the industry spoke at the same time, and the publicity effect was no less than being broadcast on television. Even some people who were not interested in this matter knew about it. Many people were very interested as to why these great writers held this book in such high esteem. They all decided to buy this book, wanting to see what was written in it. However, when the people of Far East City heard the words of these great writers, they were extremely angry. Fuck, what's wrong with these writers? They're actually speaking up for a swindler and praising him so much. Are they crazy? They must have received money. It's said that the publisher behind this book is the Universe Book Media Company. That's a big company that works with many writers. They must have bribed them. They're still bragging here. What bullshit weakness of human nature. It even contains philosophical ideas. Actually, it's just deceiving a lot of people. But it actually rose to such a level. Why don't they say that it's better to understand life? Those writers don't do anything all day. They only know how to brag here. Who knows how many young people have been poisoned by them? Most of the ungrateful people are scholars, and most of the righteous people are dog butchers. What about us who have been cheated of our money? Can we only accept our bad luck? Despicable writers, shameless. Everyone gritted their teeth. They were infuriated by the recommendations of those writers. They did not consider their feelings at all, and even came here to recommend such a shameless book, as if they were afraid that others would not know. And this news quickly spread to the world of swindlers. Countless swindlers hidden in every corner of society knew about it. When they saw this book, it was as if they had obtained a treasure. It was as if they had found a path of thought and action, as if they had found a ray of light in the darkness to guide them forward. Grandmaster. This is definitely a grandmaster in the world of swindlers. Such words filled with wisdom. The 36 stratagems of swindlers. Every stratagem contains the true essence of swindlers, encompassing everything. Only after reading this book did I realize that I have lived my life like a dog. I thought that casually swindling a few rich people and obtaining a few million universe dollars would be considered amazing, and I would not have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of my life. But look at his mental state. It has already risen to the height of the universe. He can talk about the past and present, looking down on everyone. This is a treasure, a supreme treasure of our world of swindlers. As long as you learn a thing or two, you will definitely be rich and not have to worry about food or clothing. Making a feint in the east and waiting in the west, killing with a borrowed knife, creating something out of nothing, moving in the dark, stealing sheep and passing, and so on. Every stratagem is the experience gained from countless operations. I seem to have seen a swindler swindling the world, yet he is completely unscathed. The other party did not even see his face, and the money on him is gone. What I admire the most is the 36 stratagems. Escape is the best strategy. If the situation is not good, one should immediately escape. This is not escape, but a strategic retreat. After all, no matter how tight the plan is, no matter how thorough the execution, there will still be times when accidents occur. At this time, one should not fight to the death, but retreat strategically and regroup. Only by surviving can one continue to be a swindler with a future. Buy this book immediately and study it day and night. It is said that as long as one can read this book thoroughly, it will not be difficult to become a super rich person in the universe, with a net worth of more than 10 billion. Chapter 1206. At that moment, Yi Mengyao was video chatting with her friends in a boudoir somewhere in the Soaring Cloud sect. Amazing. This Wu Wuti doesn't appear, but when he does, it's shocking. He actually wrote a book, and got so many literary giants to support him. It's really unbelievable. According to the news I received, this book has sold more than 3 million copies. Oh my god, more than 3 million copies. According to the price of this book, it sold for at least 300 million universe credits. That's ridiculous. He's just a writer, yet he can earn so much money so easily. We work so hard to kill beasts and adventure in mystic realms, but we might not even earn that much. But then again, what exactly did he write? Why is it selling so well? Many of her girlfriends were chattering away. They all felt that this matter was too unbelievable. They even wondered if Wu Wuti had placed a vicious curse on the people of the 5 major star fields, forcing them to buy the books. Otherwise, how could the sales be so exaggerated? Mengyao, what do you think? One of her friends asked. Of course, Yi Mengyao had also received the news. She knew that Wu Wuti's book was selling so well that it caused an uproar in the 5 major star fields. Many literary giants had joined forces to recommend this book. Although she was very reluctant, she still bought the book and read it. She wanted to know what Wu Wuti had written, and why so many people admired it. It's indeed a very powerful book. No wonder so many people recommended it. I wonder how many people this guy has deceived to write such a book. Although Yi Mengyao was unwilling, she had to admit this. Even though she was already prepared, and thought that Wu Wuti was definitely not a simple liar, she did not expect him to write such a comprehensive collection of deception. The highest level of deception is to deceive the heart. As long as you can deceive the heart, you will be successful. This Wu Wuti is indeed a very dangerous guy. Yi Mengyao looked at the last sentence of the book, and remembered what happened in the virtual world. That bastard did not kill her, because he wanted to deceive her heart. Could it be that the bastard had already targeted her, and wanted to deceive her as well? Thinking of this, she gritted her teeth in anger. Sure enough, such a dangerous person must not be left alone. Otherwise, who knew how much danger he would cause? We must find a way to catch him. Yi Mengyao clenched her fists. She had made up her mind. No matter what she had to do, she had to find Wu Wuti and bring him to justice. She could not let him get away scot-free. But this book is selling so well. Wu Wuti must have become a tycoon. I reckon that the final sales volume will reach a terrifying figure. That guy's net worth is at least a few billion universe credits. My god, the sex elder's net worth is probably only at this level. I wonder if I'll have the chance to catch a man like this. If I can charm him so much that he'll willingly give me money, then I'll be rich. TSK, he's a master of deception. A silly girl like you better not be eaten up by him. When that time comes, you'll run back crying with a big belly, and say that he's a scumbag. Bullshit. This young lady is an outstanding beauty. How could I be deceived by that person? It has always been men who fall in love with me, not me who has been deceived. A group of close friends chattered. Yi Mengyao was speechless, but she was determined not to let this group of close friends come into contact with Wu Wuti. Otherwise, according to that swindler's methods, who knew how many saintesses would lose their virginity? A few days later, the book 36 Stratagems of Deception sold like hotcakes in the 5 major star fields. Countless people who were interested in it chose to buy it, causing its sales to rise steadily. 1 million copies, 2 million copies, 3 million copies, and finally, it reached 20 million copies. Moreover, these were only the figures for the past few days. As time passed, it was believed that the sales figures would continue to rise. The sales are too hot. When Germa heard the sales figures, he felt his heart tremble. He didn't know how long it had been since he saw such hot sales of a book. Although there were many books in their company that could sell tens of millions of copies, the price of those books was very low, only $5. Even selling tens of millions of copies was nothing. However, 36 Stratagems of Deception was different. Its price was too high, reaching $100. It was more than 20 times the price of other books. With such a price, the sales volume still reached 20 million copies. The sales volume was too shocking. Just calculating the sales volume alone, it had already reached $2 billion. If such a sales volume were to be spread, who knew how many people would be scared to death? This was the horror of the great writers in the universe. If they published a best-selling book, they would basically not have to worry about food and clothing. However, the problem was that there were countless people who published books, who knew how difficult it was to reach tens of millions of sales. Most people lost everything, and they couldn't even earn back the cost of printing. The share is too high. At this moment, Germa thought of the contract with Xiaoping. His heart ached, as if a piece of his flesh had been cut off. According to the agreement in the contract, he needed to give 70% of the profits to Xiaoping, while his company would only get 30%. In other words, this time, Xiaoping had earned at least $1.4 billion. As time passed, the money he earned would continue to increase. When the time came, it would not be difficult to earn billions of universe dollars. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. If he had known that this book would be so popular, he would never have signed the contract. Because one more percentage point meant tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions of universe dollars. Such a huge profit was simply crazy. However, he thought about it carefully. If he didn't agree to sign the contract, Wu Wuti probably wouldn't agree to cooperate with his company. At that time, his company would lose this golden chicken. Wu Wuti would also run to a rival company. At that time, it would be too late for regrets. Although the money he earned now was a little less than he had imagined, it was good enough that he made some money. At least he didn't have to worry about Wu Wuti running to a rival company and affecting the company's interests. It seems that according to this year's profit level, I have a chance to be promoted to the head office. Germa was looking forward to it and was full of ambition. He had been in the position of the general manager of the branch company for decades and had been unable to be promoted because of a lack of performance. Now that he had this book that was popular in the 5 major star regions and brought huge benefits to the company, he believed that he, Germa, would also be qualified to enter the head office and hold a more important position. Right, I have to inform Mr. Wu of this good news as soon as possible. Germa immediately wanted to contact Xiaoping. A golden chicken like this must be maintained at all times. Otherwise, if the golden chicken ran away, his loss would be great. However, when he made a call, he couldn't get through. What? He's already in seclusion. How long will it take for him to come out? Germa heard the news from Corinne. Now that Xiaoping had no time to answer the phone, all external communications were handled by Corinne. Forget it. I'll deal with this news with him when he comes out of seclusion. Chapter 1207. In the depths of the universe, a barren primitive planet. At this moment, Xiaoping's spaceship did not return to Qingquan sect, but landed on a mountain peak on this primitive planet. This planet is very large, equivalent to 3 times the size of Yanhuang planet. It is rich in spiritual energy, and there are many fierce beasts living on this planet. The forest is lush and lush. However, there is no intelligent life on this planet, and there is no unique planetary culture, so it is still in the primitive era, and there is no need to worry about being attacked by the natives here. The reason why he did not return to Qingquan sect, but landed on this primitive planet he accidentally encountered, was because Xiaoping cultivated on the spaceship and finally reached the fulfillment realm. His divine sense and spiritual power have reached the peak of the fulfillment realm. If someone could see his current situation, they would definitely feel that his whole body is full of spiritual power, like a balloon, inflated to the extreme, and his every move has the power to break mountains. Even his divine sense power is like a sword light, tearing the world and distorting the void. It is extremely tyrannical. At this time, Xiaoping's power reached an unprecedented peak state. It seems that with just one step, he can push open the door of the divine power realm and completely master the martial Dao divine power. Originally, Xiaoping wanted to return to Qingquan sect to advance to the divine power realm. After all, with the protection of Qingquan sect and the rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth, it is the best place for seclusion. The problem is that he has a hunch that if he advances to the divine power realm, it will definitely cause a great phenomenon. Even the heavenly tribulation will be attracted. At that time, the secret on his body will probably not be able to be concealed, and he will not be able to explain it, so he can't return to Qingquan sect to break through. After thinking about it, Xiaoping decided to find a nearby planet to land on. However, he did not expect that he would be so lucky. In the vast universe, among many planets, he found a planet with life, which could be used as a place for his seclusion. A cave. Xiaoping came out of the spaceship, came to this cave with rich spiritual energy, and sat down cross-legged. Ding! At this time, the system's voice came. Congratulations to the host for triggering a huge hatred from Far East City and others. This time, you got a total of 320 million hatred points. I hope you can continue to work hard. 320 million hatred points. Xiaoping was immediately overjoyed. If you add the previous hatred points, he now has 1.4 billion hatred points. Although there is still a long way to go to 10 billion hatred points, this is also a great improvement of wealth. It's time for me to break through to divine tier. At the thought of this, Xiaoping took out the peace bloom. The reason why he hadn't used it for so long was because he wanted to use it to break through to the transcendent realm. Now is also the best time to consume this spirit herb. Once he consumed it, he would be in a state of epiphany, allowing him to quickly comprehend martial Dao spirit techniques, condensed spirit technique talismans, and step into the spirit technique secret realm. Host, if you use the hatred value, it can help the host to greatly extend the state of epiphany, allowing the host to quickly comprehend the martial path divine ability, allowing the host to achieve twice the results with half the effort, and more easily step into the divine ability realm. The system suddenly spoke. What? Xiaoping was startled. According to Corinne's estimation, if he used Peace Bloom, it would be pretty good if he could stay in the state of enlightenment for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. However, even if it was only the time it took to brew a cup of tea, it was still very shocking, because in a state of epiphany, it was equivalent to the speed of thinking more than 10,000 times. In this state, no matter what kind of martial arts he comprehended, he would progress at lightning speed. This was equivalent to an ordinary person's IQ suddenly evolving into Einstein's. No matter what problem it was solving, or what it was looking at, it would be easy. That's why Peace Bloom was so precious, and was desired by countless martial artists. But with the power of the system, he could actually prolong the state of epiphany, which was simply a great thing. It must be known that the more martial arts divine abilities one could comprehend after stepping into the divine ability realm, the better, which directly led to everyone's combat power being different and the foundation being different. Of course, it was not mastering some trash divine abilities. The quality of divine abilities was also very important. Even mastering 100 ordinary divine abilities was not as good as mastering a powerful divine ability. But if the quality and quantity of divine abilities reached an astonishing level, it would be invincible, able to sweep through the 9 heavens and 10 earths, with an invincible posture. How much time can it be extended? Xiaoping immediately asked. The system replied, spending 1 billion hatred points can extend the state of epiphany for 1 day. Redeem. Xiaoping did not hesitate. If hatred points could greatly enhance his strength, a mere 1 billion hatred points was nothing at all. Nothing was as powerful as the main body. Moreover, the divine ability realm was also known as the foundational realm, basically stepping into the realm of human and non-human, beginning to master the power of divine abilities, affecting heaven and earth. This realm was extremely important. If one step was wrong, it would be too late to regret it. Therefore, no matter how many resources he had to spend, he would not hesitate to make sure nothing went wrong. Yes, host. The system said. Pa. Xiaoping didn't think much about it, and immediately consumed the peace bloom. Suddenly, the peace bloom quickly entered his stomach, and was quickly refined by the flame in the depths of his stomach. Suddenly, he felt a cool aura rising from the depths of his stomach, turning into thousands of strands, gushing out from every corner of his body, flowing through every meridian, and finally reaching the depths of his brain. Rumble, Xiaoping's body shook. This cool aura seemed to penetrate into the depths of his soul, and all the negative emotions in his body disappeared all at once, concentrating and calming down. At this moment, he felt that he seemed to have lost his emotions, incarnated into a state of absolute rationality, like a god, not happy with material things, not sad for himself. This was the state of mind like still water. Even his thinking speed had reached the extreme, reaching 10,000 times faster than before. In such a state, even time seemed to slow down a lot. 1 second in reality, but in the world of his mind, it turned into 10,000 seconds, and the perception of time became completely different. Some things that he didn't understand in the past. In such a state of epiphany, he suddenly understood. What a powerful peace bloom. Now Xiaoping also understood the power of the peace bloom. It was definitely a rare flower of heaven and earth, with earth-shattering effects and priceless value. In this state, the comprehension of many martial arts would definitely advance by leaps and bounds. If he was in this state all the time, he would definitely be invincible in martial arts cultivation. Unfortunately, if it wasn't for the peace bloom, it was estimated that it would be difficult to achieve this state. At the same time, the power of the system also erupted, and a mysterious and unfathomable power poured into the depths of his brain, as if this mysterious power was pulling him into the domain of the divine realm. Chapter 1208. Oh right, I have to consume all the pills too. To ensure that he would be able to break through to the transcendent realm without any problems, Xiaoping took out many pills that could increase his powers. These were all obtained from the Blood Soul mainland, and there were many of them. Now was the perfect time to consume these pills to help him step into the transcendent realm. While Alex Xiaoping consumed all the pills, and the sun furnace in his body started to burn. The medicinal powers of the pills were quickly refined and turned into a warm current that flowed through the meridians in his body. With the help of these pills, the magic power in his body increased rapidly as well. Xiaoping was already at the great circle of the fulfillment realm. Now that he had obtained the peace bloom, consumed a large amount of pills, and even had the help of the system, he instantly stepped into the divine ability realm. He could feel the profound aura of the unseen world. In this state of enlightenment, he felt that his understanding of the martial path and mystic arts was improving by leaps and bounds. It was as though he had cultivated for hundreds of years and understood all sorts of martial arts. Boom! In that instant, Xiaoping's body jerked as all 108,000 pores on his body began to emit a boundless amount of energy, forming an endless amount of astral energy. Any single one of them was enough to tear a mountain apart and crush steel. Strand after strand of powers flowed through the air like a long river of laws. With his body as the center, a huge aura was formed in a radius of tens of miles. His body seemed to have turned into a whirlpool. Every pore on his body was like a divine bird, taking in and spitting out heaven and earth energy that flowed into his body like a river. If Xiaoping's cultivation scene appeared in the Qingkuan sect, who knew how much of a shock it would bring? After all, even if one reached the golden core realm, no one would be able to create such a phenomenon. At this moment, all the beasts in the primordial forest within a radius of thousands of miles felt a huge sense of danger. It was as though a giant beast from the abyss had awoken and was using the area as its territory. All of them were so scared that their hair stood on end. They awakened their instincts and fled frantically, afraid that they would be devoured by the giant beast from the abyss. Xiaoping activated the pure young immortal art and comprehended the martial path in his body. In the depths of his brain, magical power vibrated and mist rose. All the martial arts secret manuals that he had cultivated in the past appeared in his mind. Star Guiding Art, Yang God Fist, Dark North Body Protection Technique, Head Piercing 7 Arrows Technique, Great Yin Yang Tablet Smashing Hand, Black Vortex Ripple Fist, Lion Vajra Seal, Hell Demon Suppression Spear, Kuan Pung Steps, Telepathic Heart Technique, and so on surged out from the depths of his brain. In the depths of his soul, Xiaoping's figure was practicing cultivation techniques one after another, as if he was trying to master these martial arts cultivation techniques. Xiaoping, who was in a state of enlightenment, felt waves of information flow into his mind. Many things that he did not understand in the past were immediately understood in this state, reaching a profound realm. One by one, the cultivation methods began to undergo a huge transformation under this kind of deduction. Dong. After an unknown period of time, Xiaoping's bones and tendons resonated together. Countless magic power vibrated in the void, as if under the guidance of an inexplicable force of heaven and earth. It transformed into an azure rune. The first transformation was the Dark North Body Protection Technique that he had cultivated for a long time. Under the operation of Xiaoping, the endless airflow quickly merged into this azure rune, outlining a trace like a Dao mark. Vaguely, there was a Kuan Pung living in it, and the depths of this talisman seemed to form an independent space, which contained a boundless sea, and the sea water was tumbling. A Kuan Pung was rolling above the endless sea, sometimes deep into the bottom of the sea, sometimes out of the water, sometimes soaring in the void, surrounded by the breath of the void, swaying its huge tail, gently patting. Even the space appeared ripples. It was unrestrained and free, and it seemed that nothing in this world could stop it. It could escape into the void at any time, just like Zhuangzhou's dream. This was an illusory beast. In the depths of the void, there seemed to be a burst of sound. There is a fish in the North Underworld. Its name is Kuan. Kuan is so big that I don't know thousands of miles. It turns into a bird, and its name is Pung. The back of Pung is thousands of miles. It flies angrily, and its wings are like clouds hanging in the sky. It is a bird, and the sea will migrate to the South Underworld. The South Underworld is the Heaven Lake. These sounds vibrated in his body, and all of them were instilled into the depths of the talisman, as if it made the Kuan Pung in the depths of the talisman produce a trace of spiritual aura, giving it life. Divine Ability Talisman. This is the real Divine Ability Talisman. Xiaoping knew that he had finally stepped into the Divine Ability realm and transformed the North Underworld Protection Technique into a Divine Ability Talisman. He had completely mastered this divine technique and cultivated it to the Divine Ability realm. When this Divine Ability Talisman appeared, as long as he moved his mind, it seemed that his entire body had merged into the Kuan Peng's body, and he had the power of invincibility and immortality. He even felt that he seemed to have mastered a trace of space power, and there was a crystallization aura in the depths of his magic power. With a move of his divine consciousness, he activated the North Underworld Protection Technique. His body was immediately covered with densely packed space crystals, as if a space barrier had appeared around his body. Nothing would happen if ordinary power attacked it. Even if a nuclear bomb exploded around his body, it would not hurt him at all. Too strong. Xiaoping truly felt the power of the Divine Ability realm. Such a realm was an invincible existence in the Cloud Continent. Even in the universe, he was not considered cannon fodder. Because once he reached this realm, he had the power to resist a nuclear bomb with his body. Of course, even a nuclear bomb was nothing in the universe. After all, the range of a nuclear bomb explosion was only tens of kilometers. Tens of thousands of nuclear bombs could not destroy the Earth. At most, it would cause a nuclear winter and destroy mankind. But the Earth would be unscathed. In the universe, a truly tyrannical shell could destroy a star in one shot. In comparison, a nuclear bomb was just a small bomb. The Kuan Pung Steps has also evolved. With the transformation of the North Underworld Protection Technique, the Kuan Pung Steps, which was closely related to it, also seemed to feel a trace of the Kuan Peng's true essence. A Divine Ability Talisman quickly condensed in the depths of Xiaoping's mind. Originally, The Kuan Peng steps was only a king-rank middle-grade cultivation method. But under the influence of the North Underworld protection technique, it directly transformed into a king-rank peerless cultivation method. It even had the embryonic form of evolving towards a saint-rank cultivation method. He felt that this martial Dao divine ability was extremely powerful. With just a light step, he seemed to be able to escape into the void. The surrounding space turned into ripples, and no force could stop him. This was already a bit like the legendary martial Dao divine ability, Imminent Skyline. It was a different approach with the same effect. Although he did not have the power to cross the ends of the earth with one step, Xiaoping could feel that he could cross dozens of kilometers with one step. It was extremely fast, surpassing the speed of sound. Chapter 1209. However, this was just the beginning. As Dark North body protection technique and Kuan Peng steps condensed into martial Dao magical powers, Xiaoping sensed that the third martial art Nailhead 7 Arrows technique seemed to have begun to transform. Boom! In the void, the primordial chi vibrated and instantly condensed into a black talisman. This talisman seemed to contain a sharp arrow, exuding a terrible arrow chi that had the power to penetrate space. Ordinary people would have a feeling that their souls were pierced when they saw this sharp arrow. This black talisman exuded ominous like a curse. Once it targeted the enemy, it would not stop until they died. So strong it actually contains the power of curse. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. After cultivating to the magical power realm, he found that the power of Nailhead 7 Arrows technique was only the tip of the iceberg. It was not only a peerless hidden weapon technique, but also contained the power of curse. If a trace of dark curse aura was emitted, it would entangle the enemy for a lifetime. If the strength was strong enough, it could kill the enemy from 100 miles away. Now that this technique had transformed into a martial Dao magical power, its power was several times stronger than before. He grabbed with his big hand, condensed the void's spiritual power, immediately turned into a black arrow, and immediately threw it out. Puchi! Immediately, the black arrow immediately shot through the mountain. The mountain rock was as fragile as tofu. It flew for dozens of kilometers and pierced through dozens of mountains. The mountain wall that was pierced was immediately corroded by the black aura, and a pit appeared. Only when it pierced through the last mountain did the black arrow, which was condensed from magic power, dissipate. Even the rocks were damaged to this extent. If such a black arrow hit a living creature, it would probably cause irreparable damage, directly injuring the soul. Xiaoping's eyes flashed. The magical power talisman of Nailhead 7 Arrows technique had just condensed, and another technique, Hell-Suppressing Demon Spear, also underwent an earth-shattering change. In an instant, a black hole appeared in the sky, whistling in gusts of cold wind. This dark and deep hole seemed to be connected to the depths of hell. Endless hell aura emitted, gathered together, and condensed into a dark talisman. And in this talisman, there seemed to be a blood-colored spear standing. Inside it contained a blood-colored land. The ground was filled with the corpses of skeletons, demons, and so on, and the blood flowed like a river. The moment the hell-suppressing demon spear condensed into a magical power talisman, it seemed to communicate with the power of hell. Vaguely, there were ghosts crying, asuras roaring, and demons roaring. With Xiaoping as the center, a terrifying hell aura suddenly erupted, as if the entire mountain was dyed black, as if a demon had walked out from hell. The hell spear on his body was trembling slightly, as though it could sense the familiar aura of hell. It was excited, as though a god devil was about to awaken within the hell spear. Xiao! Xiaoping grabbed out with his hand and grabbed the hell spear, stabbing it forward. Immediately, a wave of hell's power shot out, piercing through the mountain. Demon spear, and demon, it in spirit, and hell demon, and in ping above. This martial art that was passed down from hell began to display a trace of the power of a magical power, and it had the ability to subdue demons. 2 black talismans floated in the air. Although they were both black, they represented different dark powers. One was curse and assassination, and the other was suppression and destruction. Even so, These two different powers seemed to be attracted to each other. They were like two planets, intertwining and rotating slowly. Black light blossomed, and an inexplicable attraction was produced. The nail had 7 arrows art, and the hell-suppressing demon spear are actually similar. Could it be that they can be fused? The moment these two martial arts' magical powers were successfully condensed, Xia Ping instinctively felt that the hell-suppressing demon spear seemed to be tainted with a trace of curse aura, and it had a trace of the characteristics of the nail had 7 arrows art. If these two martial arts' magical powers could be fused, the power that erupted would be unbelievable. If the spear pierced through, the enemy's soul would probably be instantly pierced, and they would die without a complete corpse. However, he didn't have time to consider these things at the moment. Very soon, the 5th martial art began to transform. It was the spiritual type martial art that he had just obtained, the Lion's Vajra seal and telepathic heart. After advancing to the divine realm, the soul power in his body had also been greatly enhanced. This result also allowed his spiritual secret arts to rise to a new level. Boom! In an instant, the Lion's Vajra seal underwent a huge transformation. A huge golden seal appeared in the air, and there seemed to be a golden divine lion living within it. Golden blood flowed in its body, and it exuded a noble, ancient, and holy aura. This huge golden seal had an ancient imprint that could intimidate all low-level living beings. It seemed like it could crush the enemy's soul with just a light smash. Vaguely, a divine lion seemed to have appeared behind Xia Ping, standing in the air and roaring at the sky. It emitted a terrifying divine might that shocked the surrounding 10,000 miles, causing countless living beings to tremble. The surrounding air distorted and turned into ripples. With Xia Ping's body as the center, the ripples spread out in all directions, covering thousands of miles. Some of the ferocious beasts that hadn't left in time felt the spiritual ripples, and immediately fell to the ground, as if they had been struck by lightning. Their eyes rolled back, and they foamed at the mouth. Shockingly, they had all fainted, and they wouldn't wake up for a few days. Dong! Immediately the telepathic heart also changed. Countless magical powers vibrated and spun rapidly, forming a talisman. However, this talisman was glowing with a green light, and its appearance was that of a heart. It was like a heart of 7 exquisiteness, and it had the power to perceive everything. And this green heart also emitted a strange ripple, but it was not as domineering as the Lion's Vajra seal. Instead, it was extremely gentle. In fact, this ripple even contained an aura that made people feel close to it. It seemed that as long as one got close to this ripple, the other party would involuntarily have a good impression of him. In the instant that the telepathic heart transformed into a martial arts ability, Xia Ping felt that the entire world had changed. An eye of the heart had appeared, and he seemed to have the power to listen to the voices of all living beings. With his body as the center, he could clearly hear the sounds of mountains, rivers, soil, grass, trees, and even the sounds of the ferocious beasts that lived in this primordial forest within a radius of 100 miles. This kind of power was somewhat similar to the Buddhist divine ability, the telepathic heart. Although the telepathic heart could not sense the thoughts of others like the telepathic heart, it allowed Xia Ping to sense the killing intent and hostility of others, and he could instantly distinguish between friend and foe. At the same time, he could also distinguish the voices of the beasts and understand what they meant. It was as if he had an extra 10,000-year-old translator. As expected, this secret technique is not as simple as dual cultivation. I didn't expect it to have such power. Chapter 12:10. As the telepathic heart technique successfully condensed the talisman, the 7th martial art, Black Vortex Ripple Fist, also evolved. Boom! Immediately, a gray talisman rose up. It was like a black whirlpool that kept spinning. It contained a spiral power that seemed to be able to kill everything. The moment the gray talisman appeared, it produced a terrifying devouring power. It was like a black hole that swallowed everything in the world and killed them. Dong! Xia Ping used the skill and punched out. Immediately a black hole appeared. Countless rocks on the ground were swallowed, and turned to dust in just a breath's time. In the distance, a huge hole was blasted open in the mountain wall. The wind outside blew in, whistling loudly. Heavenly dragon's music. Almost at the same time, Xiaoping felt the heavenly dragon's music condense into a talisman. The talisman looked like a musical rune, and it tinkled. In the depths of the talisman lived a heavenly dragon that swam in the clouds. Its huge body appeared and disappeared, giving off the majesty of a dragon. Its aura was no weaker than that of a divine lion. Wu, gu, ba, ma, ha, 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 ha. The moment the talisman was condensed, there seemed to be a heavenly dragon roaring in the depths of the sky. It was earth-shattering, and had the power to pierce through metal and rock. Every syllable had shocking power that could penetrate one's soul. Yin-Yang tablet smashing palm. This saint-tier skill from heaven and earth sect also evolved. Endless spiritual power shook and black and white air currents appeared in the sky. This was the power of yin and yang, which then gathered together. Immediately, the talisman was condensed quickly. The black and white air currents merged together. It looked like a Taiji universe diagram that reached a state of balance between yin and yang. This power is so strong. Xiaoping patted it lightly, and the talisman smashed down. The Taiji universe diagram crushed down from the sky like a black and white millstone, destroying everything and emitting chaotic air currents. With a boom, a deep hole was smashed into the ground. It was dozens of meters deep. The entire mountain was shaking, as if it was about to be split into pieces by this power. Oh, it can actually refine the body. As the Taiji cosmic map condensed, Xiaoping quickly discovered that the talisman had devoured the yin and yang powers of the world. Then it rapidly surged into his body and seeped into every cell. The Taiji diagram of the universe seemed to appear on his back as well. The power of yin and yang merged into his body, forming chaotic air currents that constantly washed away every single impurity in his body. Some of the mysterious acupoints in the depths of Xiao Chen's brain were also opened. His body's potential was unlocked once more. As the vast yin and yang energies washed over him, they fused with his qi and blood. Immediately, the 108,000 pores on his body spewed out strong astral winds. Like sword qi, they bombarded the surrounding mountain walls with a puchi sound. Like a sniper rifle, the mountain walls immediately showed a state of being riddled with holes. One could imagine just how terrifying these surging streams of air were. If he were to unleash all of his power, who knew how terrifying it would be? Xiaoping could probably kill countless cultivators with just a slight breath. If others were to witness such an unimaginable power, they would definitely be scared to death. Even if he had advanced to the divine power realm, his power would not be this exaggerated. His potential was terrifying. Sun God Fist. The moment the great yin-yang tablet smashing hand condensed into a divine power talisman, the Sun God Fist also underwent a transformation. Wisps of flame aura emanated from Xiaoping's body. The blood in the depths of his body was boiling like lava. The flame aura quickly gathered together and formed an airflow talisman. Finally, it kept rotating and turned into a red divine power talisman. It looked like a sun. The sun rotated slowly, and liquid like lava tumbled inside, constantly emitting monstrous flames. There seemed to be a flaming divine bird living inside. The space inside the talisman seemed to be a world of flames. There were 4 types of mystical flames: the fire of life, the fire of drought, the essence of the sun, and the spiritual fire of the earth core. Drip, drops of flames fell on the ground, instantly burning through the ground. They directly penetrated hundreds of meters underground, almost piercing through the mountain. There was a sizzling sound, and even the rocks were burned into lava. As the red talisman rotated, the temperature of the entire mountain rose rapidly. The rocks were in a red state, as if they had been burned by the flames and were about to melt. The power of the flames between heaven and earth also crazily surged into Xiaoping's body, entering his 108 acupoints. At this moment, there was a golden crow of hell living in each acupoint. They opened their big mouths and greedily ate the power of the flames. Every blood vessel in his body was filled with lava energy rumbling. The golden crow of hell cells in his body were also unsealed, and a huge amount of energy surged out. They quickly transformed into the golden crow of hell body, and a pair of golden wings formed from flames grew on his back. Xiaoping gently pointed, and the power of the flames in his body surged out from countless meridians in his body, finally gathering in his finger. Then, he instantly shot out, and a beam of red energy exploded. Dong! Suddenly, a mountain in the distance was pierced, and a hole with a diameter of dozens of meters appeared. But this was only the beginning. The huge flames immediately surrounded the mountain. In the time of a few breaths, the mountain was surrounded by huge flames, and all the plants were burned to ashes. Even the rocks on the mountain were burned to the point of crackling, turning into black stones. The raging fire burned as if it had turned into a huge flaming mountain. Above the flaming mountain, the flames burned, forming a vision. A golden crow of hell stood on the top of the mountain and cawed, faintly resonating with the sun. Moreover, the flames did not seem to be extinguished in a short period of time, and there was already a trace of the embryonic form of an immortal fire. If there was no external force to stop it, the flames of this mountain could probably burn for 100 years. This was the power of the magical power of the Yang God Fist, which had the mighty power to change the world. Is the epiphany about to end? There seems to be another star guiding art. At this moment, Xiaoping sensed that he had comprehended a total of 10 martial arts magical powers, and it had taken him almost a day. He estimated that after a period of time, he would leave the state of epiphany. At that time, if he wanted to comprehend martial arts magical powers, he would probably have to waste a lot of time, so he must not waste this opportunity. Moreover, this star guiding art was also a saint-tier cultivation technique. This was a tyrannical cultivation technique that he had obtained from the Stars sect, and its power was not inferior to the Yang God Fist. Once he condensed the magical power talisman, he would immediately be able to cultivate the star body, and its power would be endless. This would also greatly increase his combat power. Chapter 12:11. Star Guiding Art. Xiaoping's eyes seemed to contain the light of the stars. Many mysteries of the star guiding art appeared in his mind. At this moment, the sky seemed to have darkened, and the stars densely covered the void. One after another, the stars flickered in the night sky, constantly vibrating and drawing energy. Strands after strand of starry energy fell down and instilled into every corner of Xiaoping's body. The starry energy quickly gathered together and finally condensed into a magical talisman. It looked like a 5-pointed star on the outside, and it seemed to contain a galaxy inside. Countless stars shone brightly inside. Rumble, the moment the star guiding art condensed into a magical talisman, Xiaoping's body resonated with the stars in the universe. Endless starry energy was projected from the void and entered his body. One after another, stars appeared in his acupoints. It was as if his body had become a star chart. The starlight attracted each other, forming a galaxy that connected with each other. His whole body was bathed in starlight. At this moment, his blood seemed to be filled with the power of the stars. Azure energy appeared on the surface of his skin and seeped into every corner of his body. Star constitution. Xiaoping clenched his fists. He felt that his body had undergone a completely different change from before. It was as if he could crush a meteorite with a casual clench of his fist. His body was unprecedentedly powerful. It was as if it had been tempered into a star, indestructible. It was like an extraterrestrial meteorite that had been tempered by countless forces. With a thought and a breath, millions of stars seemed to dance along with his breathing. He could easily use the power of the stars to crush his enemies. Vaguely, 360 stars appeared in his acupoints. They flowed with a chaotic aura and rotated slowly. It was as if a star chart of the outer realm was constructed in his body. This chart had the power to suppress the universe and push the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Without a doubt, this was the sign of a successful cultivation of the star constitution. It could be said that the strength of the star constitution was extremely terrifying. It was not inferior to the ghost god body, martial god body, blazing body, chaotic body, yin-yang body, 5 elements body, and other famous special constitutions in the universe. It was known as one of the strongest constitutions in the universe, and could be invincible for an era. Moreover, after cultivating this kind of constitution, one could also use the power of the stars. Dong. Xiaoping took a step forward and punched out. The talismans of the star attraction art danced in the air, and a planet fell from the sky. Immediately, the gravity in the surroundings increased by hundreds of times, covering an area of 100 miles. Everything in this area was subjected to a terrifying gravitational force. Some of the weaker materials were instantly crushed into powder. The entire ground seemed to have collapsed by more than 10 meters, causing a rumbling sound. He can actually control gravity. Xiaoping's eyes flashed, and he condensed the star attraction art into a divine ability talisman. Immediately, the divine ability of gravity was born. He could control the gravity of the universe and exert it on his enemies, making them feel like they were carrying a planet on their backs. In the face of this kind of supernatural power, ordinary enemies would not even be able to stand steadily in front of the star face. Weaker enemies would be directly shaken to the point that their lungs would be shattered, and they would crawl on the ground with their bones crushed. What a powerful star attraction art! Xiaoping increasingly felt the power of this cultivation technique. The star guiding art was all-encompassing. Once cultivated to a certain level, divine abilities would be born, and it would have the power to deduce 10,000 techniques. With the star guiding art as the foundation, it could evolve into tens of thousands of offensive techniques in the world. This was the highest inheritance of the star sect. With the star guiding art, there was no need for other divine abilities or secret techniques. Those who cultivated this cultivation technique could slowly practice the enemy's divine abilities in battle and turn them into their own. And it's already over? With a bang, Xiaoping suddenly felt that he had left the state of epiphany. His thinking speed that was 10,000 times faster instantly stopped, and he returned to his original state. Immediately, he felt that the speed at which he comprehended the martial path mystic arts was much, much slower. Originally, he wanted to transform the few martial arts he had into martial path mystic arts, but now that he had left the state of enlightenment, he couldn't do it in a short period of time. I didn't expect a day and a night to pass so quickly. Xiaoping sighed. Cultivation was timeless. He felt that only a few hours had passed, but he didn't expect a day and a night to pass so quickly. It was incomparably fast. He had also successfully cultivated 11 martial Dao divine abilities. Each divine ability was extremely powerful, and had the terrifying power to sweep away his opponents. It could even change heaven and earth. And, suddenly, Xiaoping felt that the changes in his body didn't seem to have ended. As he condensed the 11 martial Dao divine abilities and advanced to the divine ability realm, the golden crow of hell cells in his body were also frantically unsealed. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. In the end, a total of 10,000 golden crow of hell cells were completely unsealed. The majestic power of the golden crow of hell's bloodline immediately covered his body, purifying the power of the bloodline in his body. Dong! 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 At this moment, Xiaoping's heart seemed to be unprecedentedly strong. It was like the roar of a war drum, like the morning bell and evening drum, or like the ringing of the bell of chaos, causing the world to resonate. Along with the heartbeat, a terrifying vibration was produced. With a bang, the mountain that he was on collapsed instantly. A mountain that was thousands of meters tall disintegrated and was shaken into powder. A large amount of sand drifted around and floated to other places. On the other hand, Xiaoping's body was floating in the air, free from gravity. His heart was still beating strongly, like the birth of a new life. The golden crow of hell's heart? Xiaoping immediately knew that when the 10,000 golden crow of hell cells were unsealed, the golden crow of hell heart in his body had completely awakened and produced the bloodline divine ability of the golden crow of hell. This heart seemed to be condensed from scarlet magma, and its entire body emitted terrifying flames. It was like the heart of magma, and it was currently beating in the scorching heat, making thumping sounds. This heart could transmit an endless amount of power of lava, which flowed into every blood vessel in the body, and even seeped into every cell in the body. So powerful. At this moment, Xiaoping finally knew how powerful the golden crow of hell was. After awakening this heart, his life force reached an unprecedented level, like a baby divine beast. As long as this heart didn't shatter, no matter how serious the injuries were, he could recover quickly. Even if his limbs were broken, with the golden crow of hell's heart here, he could regrow his limbs. Even this powerful heart provided his body with endless power. Even when standing in midair, he was like a flaming giant that could absorb endless power of fire. Dong. Chapter 12:12. Suddenly, Xiaoping felt a trace of palpitation. He looked up and saw dark clouds covering the sky. He didn't know when these dark clouds had covered the surrounding 10,000 miles. From the depths of the black hole, thunderclouds surged out and condensed into substance, crackling. Each thunderbolt was like a divine spear, exuding a heart-palpitating aura of destruction. Obviously, when Xiaoping's golden crow of hell bloodline broke through, it also attracted the heavenly punishment. And this time, the lightning tribulation was more terrifying than the last time. There were a total of 27 lightning punishments. The power of each lightning was enough to easily kill a divine power realm cultivator. Oh my god, what the hell is going on? Who did I provoke? Why am I being struck by lightning again? It's not like it's a thunder retribution realm expert. Corinne, who was hiding beside Xiaoping, widened his eyes and contracted his pupils. He simply couldn't understand. He had seen Xiaoping encounter lightning tribulation before, but he thought it might be a coincidence. But who would have thought that after advancing to the divine power realm, it would happen again, and the power would increase by who knows how many times. Although the 27th lightning punishment was only 9 more than the 18th lightning punishment, it was not only more frightening in terms of quantity, but it was also incomparable in terms of power. They could not be mentioned in the same breath. Come on. Regardless of what Corinne was thinking at the moment, Xiaoping looked up at the sky. He was fearless at the moment. Now that he had awakened the golden crow of hell's heart, his vitality was unprecedentedly powerful. As long as he wasn't instantly killed, he could quickly recover from his injuries. If anyone wanted to fight a protracted battle with him, it was simply courting death. Even if the power of the 27 lightning punishments was very terrifying, he was confident that he could withstand it. Dong, dong. In the blink of an eye, bolts of purple lightning descended from the sky. They were as thick as buckets and contained destructive energy, enough to easily split a mountain into pieces. Kill! Xiaoping punched out, containing a terrible fist energy. The power of fire in his body burst out, as if the god of fire had come to the world, instantly bombarding the thunderbolts. Bang! Bang! The two forces collided, producing a huge shockwave. The collision of the power of fire and the power of thunder was like the collision of two planets. The resulting energy swept out. Suddenly, more than 10 mountains in the surroundings were flattened by the storm, and half of the mountain tops were blown away. Such a head-on clash seemed to have angered the heavenly tribulation. In an instant, hundreds of purple thunderbolts descended at the same time. Like missiles, they all smashed into Xiaoping's head and exploded at the same time. Dark North Body Protection Technique. Xiaoping immediately activated his divine ability. His body was instantly covered in a layer of spatial barrier. Dense runes appeared on the surface of the barrier, resembling the patterns of an ancient turtle shell. The purple thunderbolts were easily blocked by it, leaving it unscathed. But even so, the power of the thunder trial was extremely horrifying. It contained a frightening penetrative power, causing Xiaoping's qi and blood to churn, and the mana within his body to show signs of disorder. Moreover, as time passed, the power of the lightning tribulation would become more and more terrifying. Rumble, the 27 lightning tribulations bombarded Xiaoping for 3 days and 3 nights. Thick lightning bolts descended one after another, not giving Xiaoping any time to rest. The power of such lightning tribulations tore the earth and razed it to the ground. Mountains collapsed, forests were destroyed, and the fierce beasts that were affected were turned into ashes. Almost everything was wiped out. The battlefield rolled for thousands of kilometers. It could be said that this area had become a forbidden place for life. The surrounding air was filled with the crackling sound of lightning, and from time to time, there were traces of lightning sparks. It was estimated that within 100 years, there would be no life in this place, and the residual power of the thunder would appear from time to time, destroying life, and everywhere was filled with a destructive aura. Ho ho ho! At this moment, Xiaoping was half kneeling in a deep pit, breathing heavily and sweating profusely. Even though he had advanced to the divine ability realm and condensed a total of 11 martial Dao divine abilities, his strength had greatly increased. But facing the 27 lightning tribulations, it was still enough to kill him. His body was charred black, and his appearance was like a piece of charcoal. Blood flowed out, and he seemed to have turned into a blood man. When the blood dripped on the ground, it immediately turned into lava, forming a river of lava, turning the land into a sea of fire, and the fire was also burning. The surrounding temperature also rose up, and thick smoke rose up as if it was the end of the world. Fortunately, he had awakened the golden crow of Hell Heart, and his life force was unprecedentedly strong. So, even though he was forced to the brink of death many times, he still survived. It's finally over. Xiaoping was overjoyed, and he clenched his fists, feeling the abundant power in his body. It looked like his injuries were serious, and every inch of his skin was cracked. But in reality, with the golden crow of Hell Heart, his injuries were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Moreover, he was already used to being struck by lightning, and his body had even absorbed a lot of lightning essence, which was hidden deep in his cells. From time to time, lightning energy would explode and sizzle. Such lightning energy was also activating his cells and strengthening his body's potential. After a period of time, he would be able to completely recover from his injuries. Maybe I should find a chance to learn a martial Dao divine ability related to lightning, and it might be easier to learn. Xiaoping's eyes shone. He had been struck by the lightning tribulations for so long, and his body had accumulated a lot of lightning essence. It could be said that there were not many people in the world who had so much lightning energy in their body like him. This was the benefit of not dying after suffering the lightning tribulations. Moreover, if he learned a lightning divine ability, it might be a lot easier to deal with the lightning tribulations in the future. Otherwise, if he continued like this, sooner or later he would be struck to death by lightning. What a freak! Corinne also saw this scene. Originally, the phenomenon of Xiaoping advancing to the divine ability realm was shocking enough, but he didn't expect such a terrifying lightning tribulations to appear. If it was an ordinary divine ability realm cultivator, he would have already been struck to death by the first lightning. How could he resist for 3 days and 3 nights, and even withstood the 27 waves of lightning tribulations? But then again, which divine ability realm cultivator was so freakish to actually encounter lightning tribulations at this realm? Generally speaking, only those who advanced to the lightning tribulations realm and were about to step into the realm of sages would encounter lightning tribulations. But this kid was suffering lightning tribulations now. It was too inconceivable. Corinne said that he had never encountered such a situation, and it was really unimaginable. It could only be that this kid was really an evildoer, and heaven and earth could not tolerate him, and heaven wanted to strike him to death. It's just that this guy's life was tough, and he couldn't be struck to death. Be careful, Xiaoping. There seems to be a spaceship coming over. Suddenly, Corinne immediately sensed something. The detection system found a black spaceship flying in the distant space, and a special mark was engraved on the surface of the spaceship, which was impressively a red scarf. Chapter 12-13. How dare you fly in front of me? Get down. Xiaoping raised his head and calmly looked at the dozen red scarf bandits rushing towards him. Boom! He took a step forward, and at this moment, the whole world seemed to fall into darkness. A huge star fell from the void, spanning across the sky. Wisps of starlight twined around this star, as if turning the world into a world of stars. It slowly rotated, exuding an ancient, sacred, and chaotic aura. What? The dozen red scarf bandits were not even tens of meters away from Xiaoping. When this star appeared, they immediately felt a terrifying pressure on their bodies, as if they were carrying a 1,000-meter-tall mountain on their shoulders. Bang! 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 Originally, they were still flying in the air, free from gravity. But at this moment, they were like birds without wings, falling one after another, like meteorites, smashing into the ground. Suddenly, the dozen red scarf bandits were like turtles lying on the ground, as if they were carrying a 5-finger mountain on their backs. The ground around them was crushed by more than 10 centimeters. Some of the rocks and crushed stones cracked and shattered on the spot, turning into powder. They struggled with all their might. Their faces were red, but they could not stand up at all. They could not even pick up the magic treasures in their hands. They were firmly pressed on the ground. With a poochy sound, some of the weaker red scarf bandits vomited blood. Their lungs were severely injured, and their bones creaked. It seemed as if cracks had appeared on their bones. Their whole body was in terrible pain. What the hell happened? It's so heavy. Damn, what the hell is going on? What did that kid do to us? The group of red scarf bandits were horrified and panic-stricken. At this moment, they felt the terror of this mysterious young man's strength. They could not even get close to him, and were crushed on the ground like dead dogs, unable to move. It could be said that this time, they kicked an iron plate. Gravity magic. This kid has mastered a martial art magic related to gravity. The knife-scarred man shouted. He was knowledgeable and immediately knew what he had encountered. Obviously, this mysterious young man had learned a gravity magic and could control the gravity of the world. Such a god art was rare even in the universe, and not everyone could learn it. Most of the god art cultivators could only learn some simple god arts that weren't very powerful. In the face of this powerful martial path mystique, they were completely defenseless. The Scarface man, on the other hand, was horrified. He had seen a gravity god art before, but he had never seen one so powerful that a god art pinnacle like him couldn't move. Die! Xiaoping indifferently looked at the group of red scarf bandits lying on the ground. His killing intent surged and filled the air, causing the scarred man and the others to shiver. It was as if they had fallen into an icy cave, as if they could see the end of their lifespan. Stop! They are my red scarf thieves' men. You dare to kill them? Are you tired of living? All of a sudden, a loud roar came from the spaceship that was flying high up in the sky. Obviously, the people in the spaceship saw that their comrade was in a life-and-death crisis. They immediately turned on the loudspeaker and roared loudly, trying to stop Xiaoping from committing murder. At the same time, the weapon system of the spaceship was immediately activated. The muzzle rumbled as it pointed at Xiaoping, revealing a threatening look. It seemed that if Xiaoping made a move, they would blast him to death. In the face of the spaceship's laser cannon, even a god art cultivator wouldn't be able to withstand it. Great, this is really great. The scarred man and the others all felt that they had a new lease of life. Fortunately, they still had their comrade in the spaceship. Otherwise, they would have been completely annihilated. They believed that with the threat of the spaceship's laser cannon, this kid definitely wouldn't dare to make a move unless he didn't want to live and wanted to perish together with them. However, since he could cultivate to this level and had a bright future, why would he die for a group of red scarf bandits? Even if they used their knees to think, they would know that it was impossible. Quickly surrender. If you are a step late, I will blast you to death. You dare to go against us, the red scarf bandits? You don't know how to write the word death. On the spaceship, the arrogant voice came again. It was obvious that it had Xiaoping in its grasp. They relied on the spaceship's laser cannon. Even a god art cultivator could be easily killed. They were confident of their victory. Noisy! Xiaoping coldly snorted. He raised his hand and slapped down. Boom! The terrifying gravity increased by dozens of times, crushing the scarred man and the others. It was like a huge star falling from the sky, erupting with terrifying destructive power. No, no, no! The scarred man and the others were dumbfounded. They didn't expect that the kid in front of them would dare to make a move against the spaceship. They were shocked to death on the spot, and their bodies were crushed into pieces. Dong! In the next second, a deep pit with a diameter of more than 10 kilometers appeared on the ground. There were also more than 10 Red Scarf Bandits' corpses on the ground. Their eyes were wide open. It was obvious that they died with grievances. Damn bastard, you actually dared to make a move. You dared to kill our Red Scarf Bandits. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish. I will fulfill your wish immediately. Fire immediately, kill him, and blast him into cosmic dust. On the spaceship, the group of Red Scarf Bandits were furious. They were simply furious. At this time, the kid was not afraid of the threat of the laser cannon, and killed their people in front of them. He was simply arrogant to the extreme. Rumble! They immediately operated the spaceship's weapon system, locked onto Xiaoping, charged the laser cannon, and immediately fired. Xiao! Xiao! In an instant, more than 10 laser cannons on the spaceship fired at the same time. Energy blasted over, intersecting with each other, forming a death net that shrouded everything. If hit by the laser cannon, even a god art cultivator would die. Even a mountain would be vaporized. This was the universe's war weapon, invincible. On a primitive planet, such a spaceship was enough to slaughter the planet's primitive humans dozens of times over. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. Since he dared to make a move, it must be foolproof. Those Red Scarf Bandits thought that the laser cannon could kill him. Kunpeng step. In an instant he operated this martial art. His entire body seemed to have turned into a Kunpeng and merged into the void. With just a step forward, he instantly moved dozens of kilometers, dodging all the laser cannons. Dong! Dong! Chapter 12-14. Haha, die arrogant bastard. He's simply reckless. He actually dared to face the laser cannons of our spaceship. Even if he's a transcendent realm cultivator, he'll be blasted to death with no chance of survival. Serves him right. He dared to kill my brothers. This is the consequence. It's a pity that Hu Laosan and the others died here for no reason. It's such an injustice. On the spaceship, when the laser cannons exploded, many of the Red Scarf thieves gritted their teeth. They felt inexplicable joy in their hearts. It was rare to be able to kill such a powerful transcendent realm cultivator. However, when they thought of the deaths of Hu Laosan and the others, they were furious. They didn't expect to encounter such inexplicable danger on this primitive planet. Moreover, they died in the hands of such a hothead. It was such an injustice. Oh no, that kid isn't dead yet. Suddenly someone yelled. Impossible. On the spaceship, many of the Red Scarf thieves immediately refuted. They felt that it was impossible for someone to survive under the bombardment of more than a dozen laser cannons, even if he was a transcendent realm cultivator. It's true, that kid is right in front. A Red Scarf thief pointed at the surveillance camera in front of him in horror. Through the spaceship's detection system, they found a living object still floating in the air, looking at them from afar. Everyone looked over, and their faces became extremely ugly. Through the spaceship's detection system, they saw Xiaoping standing in the air in the distance, unharmed. Damn, he's really not dead. What happened just now? Why didn't he die? This is too strange. Is the weapon system broken? Many of the Red Scarf thieves felt a trace of panic. If even the laser cannons couldn't kill the other party, then wouldn't they be helpless against this kid? Their companions died in vain. Luck, it's definitely luck. Let's kill him again. I don't believe we can't kill this guy. A Red Scarf thief shouted. He frantically pressed the button to activate the weapon. Xiao! 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 Suddenly, dozens of energy rays shot toward Xiaoping. The power was several times stronger than before. However, it was still too slow in front of Xiaoping's Kunpeng steps. The time between charging and firing the laser cannons was enough for him to move dozens of kilometers. It was impossible to capture his figure. Perhaps a spaceship's weapon could lock onto his aura and blast him to death. But this spaceship's weapon system was clearly not that powerful. The Red Scarf thieves weren't qualified to own such a weapon system. With a whoosh, Xiaoping's figure appeared on the other side of the spaceship. Bastard! The red scarf thief's expression was very ugly. He didn't expect that he wouldn't be able to kill the other party, even after firing the laser cannon. This won't do. This brat's speed is too fast. We can't catch his figure at all. Many of the red scarf bandits gnashed their teeth. They were very unwilling. However, they also knew that at this speed, their spaceship would not be able to kill this kid. Wait, what is that guy trying to do? Suddenly, someone noticed Xiaoping's figure flickering as he approached their ship. Does he want to attack our spaceship? Are you kidding me? Our ship is made of special steel and is protected by an energy shield. Even if he's a divine tier cultivator, he can't break through our defense. That's right. No matter what he wants to do, it's futile. Many red scarf bandits sneered again and again. Even if they couldn't kill this evildoer, it would be impossible for the other party to kill them through the spaceship. At most, they could just use the spaceship to leave. Corinne, did you find the engine of this spaceship? At this moment, Xiaoping approached the spaceship and asked Corinne. Found it, it's at the upper left side of you. Corinne started the detection system, and soon found the extremely important engine of the spaceship. Very good. Xiaoping nodded. He couldn't destroy the spaceship with his current strength, but if he destroyed the engine of the other party's spaceship and caused a huge explosion, he could also destroy the spaceship. Thinking of this, he suddenly punched. Martial Dao Divine Ability, Sun God Fist. In an instant, his fist seemed to have turned into molten lava. A terrifying flame power gathered on his right fist. It was as if a sun was being controlled by his fist. The terrifying heat emitted from Xiaoping's body reached a temperature of thousands of degrees, and the surrounding air was completely burned. Vaguely, a golden crow of hell appeared behind him. This was the ruler of flames. Boom! His fist smashed down and solidly hit the outer shell of the spaceship, causing the entire spaceship to tremble. The outer shell of the spaceship, which could originally block many dangers in the universe, was rapidly melting under this flame, and suddenly a huge pit was burned. Even this terrifying flame instantly penetrated into the interior of the spaceship. Even if there was an energy shield protecting it, it was useless under this flame. In front of the sun essence, drought demon fire, and other terrifying flames with terrifying destructive power, the outer shell of the spaceship couldn't withstand it at all. It melted in an instant, and the materials disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. Not good run. Inside the spaceship, the complexion of the numerous red scarf thieves changed. The entire spaceship was trembling. The system issued a strong warning, buzzing, and the alarm quickly sounded. It was as if the spaceship had been hit by a meteorite. They wanted to escape immediately, but it was too late. The terrifying flame power hit the engine of the spaceship, and the terrible destructive power broke out, thoroughly destroying the engine. Rumble. At this moment, the entire spaceship was surrounded by raging flames, and the engine produced an earth-shattering explosion. The spaceship was blown to pieces, as if dozens of nuclear bombs had exploded. Whoosh! Xiaoping's body flickered, and he used the Kuanpeng steps. His entire body turned into a Kuanpeng and merged into the void. The surrounding space seemed to turn into ripples. In a few breaths, he had escaped hundreds of kilometers. At this time, the spaceship also exploded, and the raging flames spread. All the red scarf thieves in the spaceship were killed in the explosion. Even if some powerful red scarf thieves didn't die in the explosion, Xiaoping's deviant flame had spread throughout the spaceship. Under the burning of the deviant flame, even a divine realm cultivator would die. Once touched, the deviant flame wouldn't extinguish until the enemy was burned to ashes. Chapter 12:15. Huh, what is this? Suddenly, Xiaoping scanned with his divine sense, and immediately discovered that there seemed to be 5 or 6 silver containers among the wreckage. Even after the explosion just now, they were not damaged. Even the unusual fire couldn't burn these containers. This is a container made of aid metal. Corinne immediately saw what it was. It seems that this group of red scarf thieves spaceship has a lot of good things. They are actually willing to use this kind of container. What is aid metal? Xiaoping asked curiously. Corinne explained. Aid metal is a relatively high-grade metal in the universe. It is even harder than the mica steel used to make spaceships. If the unusual fire isn't powerful enough, it can't hurt it at all. Its melting point is extremely high. But this metal is very rare and valuable. A container made of aid metal is also an extremely expensive item. To be able to use this container to carry things, the value must be astonishing. He guessed that this spaceship should be the transport spaceship of the Red Scarf Thieves, responsible for transporting precious materials. They accidentally passed by this place and didn't expect to encounter such a disaster. Boom! Hearing these words, Xiaoping suddenly attacked and punched the container. A terrifying force penetrated into the container, but only a fist mark appeared on the container. It wasn't damaged. What a hard container, it's really extraordinary. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. After he advanced to the divine realm, his strength was several times stronger than before. Even the mica steel was punched through by him, but he couldn't punch through this aid metal. One can imagine the hardness of this metal. It's really extraordinary. The corner of Corinne's mouth also twitched. How hard is a deite metal? Ordinary divine power realm cultivators can't injure it in the slightest, let alone punching it. This guy is really abnormal. His strength is too terrifying. He is already invincible in the divine realm. But this container seems to be locked. Without the key, it can't be opened. It seems that we can only go back to Qiankuan sect and find someone to open the lock. Corinne said regretfully. Xiaoping touched his chin. It's okay, I have a way to open it. He immediately summoned the golden slime. Even if this metal is powerful, it is not worth mentioning in front of the golden slime's devouring ability. Slime. The golden slime jumped out and called out. It looked longingly at the container made of aid metal, and the spaceship wreckage scattered on the ground. In its eyes, these remains were all delicious food, materials that could help it evolve. Come on, don't stand on ceremony, Xiaoping said. The golden slime nodded and immediately jumped forward. Like a cloud, it swept forward. The aid metals were incapable of escaping the golden slime's demonic claws. Although aid metals were indeed much harder than mica steel, the golden slime was capable of even digesting sacred artifacts. Aid metals were nothing to it. 2 hours later, the containers made of aid metal were completely devoured. Pa! Immediately, the golden slime burped and spat out everything in the container, pouring it all over the ground. Spatial ring. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He discovered that 5 or 6 spatial rings had fallen out. He guessed that a large amount of resources were stored in these spatial rings. However, in order to protect these spatial rings, they actually took out containers made of aid metal. It was a very grand display, and no one knew what treasures were inside. No way it's rice? Xiaoping's divine sense seeped in, and immediately discovered that these spatial rings stored a large amount of rice, weighing no less than a ton. But each grain was very unusual, like a crystal, emitting an unusual fragrance. Smelling it slightly, the blood vessels in his body seemed to be stirring, containing boundless energy. He took it out and let Corinne distinguish it. Immediately, Corinne's eyes revealed a glimmer of light. This is not ordinary rice, but crystal fragrant rice. Crystal fragrant rice? Xiaoping looked at Corinne. Corinne explained. This is a high-grade food, not something ordinary rice can compare to. It is said that the environment it grows in is very special. It needs to grow on the 9 heaven-growing soil, and at the same time, it needs a large number of precious elixirs and vicious beast blood to irrigate day and night. 33 years to grow, 33 years to mature, 33 years to form rice, and it takes nearly 100 years to grow. It is priceless. Just this rice is worth 300 million universe dollars. What? Xiaoping was taken aback. Just this rice was worth 300 million universe dollars. He knew how high the value of universe dollars was. 300 million universe dollars could buy various types of magic weapons and martial arts secret books. But just this rice was worth 300 million universe dollars. It was really too exaggerated. It was no wonder that the group of red scarf thieves were so cautious. After all, if these crystal fragrant rice were stolen, it would be a loss of 300 million universe dollars. And no one could bear this responsibility. What's so great about this rice? Xiaoping asked. From its harsh growing environment, it can be seen how precious this rice is. Corinne said in a deep voice. If you use this rice every day, you can quickly increase your body's magic power and enhance your martial arts aptitude. The most important thing is that there is no side effect, and it can infinitely enhance your body's magic power. No side effect? Xiaoping exclaimed in surprise. He finally understood how precious this rice was. It must be known that medicine has 3 parts poison. Taking a lot of medicinal pills would always make the body develop a resistance. If a certain medicinal pill was taken too much, then it would soon have no effect on the body. But this crystal fragrant rice, no matter how much it was taken, there was no side effect, and it could also quickly enhance your magic power and even purify your martial arts aptitude. If it was taken for a long time, it would be even worse. That's right, Corinne said. This rice is an essential food in some ancient aristocratic families. Taking a small bowl of it every meal, over time, even a mediocre person will be promoted to a genius, and a genius will be promoted to a peerless genius with infinite potential. No matter how hard they practice every day, they can't overdraw their body's potential. Therefore, the descendants of these ancient aristocratic families progress at lightning speed, which is not something that ordinary people can compare with. I didn't expect that these red scarf thieves would actually be able to find a ton of crystal fragrant rice. I don't know if they robbed from somewhere, or if they have grasped a production base of crystal fragrant rice. Its eyes flickered, revealing a trace of contemplation. Production base? Xiaoping touched his chin. If the other party really grasped a production base of crystal fragrant rice, then perhaps the wealth of the red scarf thieves would be endless. After all, everyone wants to get such precious spirit rice, and every family is scarce. I have to check. Fortunately, this spaceship was not completely destroyed. There are still some spaceship's optical computer chips left behind. If I invade it and search its starry sky route map, perhaps I can find some clues. Chapter 12:16. A few days later, Xiaoping sat cross-legged on top of a mountain, absorbing the sun and moon's spiritual energy. After several days of cultivation, he had finally consolidated his cultivation at the early stage of the transcendent realm and integrated his power. At this moment, his purple mansion had also expanded a lot, reaching a diameter of 2,000 kilometers. It was like a small ocean with turbulent seawater flowing. It could be said that the magic power he possessed was terrifying to the point of having a trace of the infinite mana. With this kind of power, if Xiaoping returned to the heavenly realm, he could sweep through the entire world by himself. The power of one punch would be no less than a nuclear explosion. Even the purple mansion space seemed to have expanded in size, and there seemed to be many more phenomena. There were many stars hanging in the sky, and there were also suns in the sky. There was a sunbird soaring in the sky, a kunping swimming in the sea, a rainbow piercing the sun, a heavenly dragon resting in the deep sea, a divine spear standing on the seabed, a taiji diagram suppressing the void, and so on. Magical talismans appeared in the purple mansion space, emitting magical power all the time. They were independent and did not interfere with each other, but they complemented and influenced each other. As long as Xiaoping willed it, he could instantly burst out the magical power of martial Dao. With his cultivation stabilized, the combat power he could exert was even more tyrannical than when he fought with the Red Scarf bandits. At the same time, his physique was even more terrifying. Once the infernal golden crow body and star body burst out, ordinary spaceships would be smashed into pieces under the impact. Even some young divine beasts were no better than this. Dong! Xiaoping gently stepped on the top of the mountain, and in an instant, a terrifying power burst out. It was like a giant beast awakening from the abyss. The thousands of meters high mountain immediately collapsed, splitting from the middle, and a large number of rocks fell from the surroundings. His whole body also flew up, jumping thousands of meters high. This was not the power of magical power, but the explosive power of his body alone was enough to tear the mountain apart. Even the 108,000 pores on his body were spewing out terrifying essence energy. Strands of them shot out like sniper bullets, instantly tearing apart the surrounding mountains, creating hundreds of thousands of holes. Now Xiaoping was simply a human killing machine. If he entered the battlefield, he could instantly kill a large number of enemies. Even modern weapons couldn't stop him. The power of the bloodline is also stronger. Xiaoping floated in the air. He clenched his fists and felt the strength of his physique. The most powerful abilities were the awakened Infernal Golden Crow's special abilities, which were the Infernal Golden Crow's right eye, Infernal Golden Crow's wings, Infernal Golden Crow's stomach, and Infernal Golden Crow's heart. The awakening of these 4 types of powers caused the blood in his body to turn into magma. It was a faint gold and black color, seemingly becoming purer and purer. It emitted a primal, ancient, and divine aura. If anyone could drink his blood, an ordinary person's lifespan would be extended by more than 100 years, and they would be free of diseases and disasters for the rest of their lives. If a cultivator drank his blood, they would also increase their magic power and improve their aptitude. It was almost the same as eating a peerless elixir. The legendary Xuanzang meat was probably referring to the current Xiaoping. Of course, the biggest improvement was in Xiaoping's spiritual energy. Boom! He closed his eyes, seemingly forming the heart's eye. His divine sense swept out, covering a radius of 2,000 kilometers in an instant. Within this range, nothing could escape his tracking. Moreover, he could observe everything down to the smallest detail. No illusion could resist the penetrating power of his divine sense. After advancing to the transcendent realm, he had also absorbed a large amount of energy from the soul stone, which greatly improved his soul power. It constantly transformed and became incomparably tough. It was estimated that just the soul power alone had far surpassed that of a transcendent realm cultivator. Even a treasure-refining realm cultivator would only be at this level. With a slight movement of his divine sense, it instantly condensed into a long sword. With a dong sound, it bombarded a huge rock in the distance, cutting it into thousands of pieces in an instant. So strong! Xiaoping's eyes revealed a glimmer of light. Just the power of his divine sense could tear apart rocks. It could be said that if he wanted to, he could stare an ordinary person to death. Killing with one's eyes open was not an illusion. One day later, after testing his own power, Xiaoping boarded a spaceship and left this primitive planet. As expected of the legendary noble rice, crystal fragrant rice. It is indeed extraordinary. Xiaoping cooked the crystal fragrant rice he obtained from the red scarf thief. When he ate a bowl, he immediately felt that the pearl-like grains of rice melted in his mouth like butter. At the same time, it emitted an enchanting fragrance that filled his mouth and spread to every taste bud in his body. He seemed to feel the breath of spring. At the same time, when the crystal fragrant rice entered his stomach, it was quickly digested by the hell golden crow's stomach and transformed into majestic pure energy that flowed into his limbs and bones. Xiaoping suddenly felt that his body was full of energy. It seemed that the deficit caused by many days of cultivation had been completely made up. His body's potential had also increased a little. Not only did the crystal fragrant rice taste excellent, but it also contained majestic energy. Those medicinal pills could not be compared to the crystal fragrant rice, a grain of heaven and earth. Moreover, it had no side effects and could be consumed at will. It was simply a miraculous thing. Originally, his appetite was very big. He could swallow a dozen cows, a dozen tigers, and even a dozen elephants without a problem. However, after eating 5 or 6 bowls of crystal fragrant rice, he felt a sense of fullness. One could imagine how terrifying the energy contained in the crystal fragrant rice was. It was enough to satisfy any big eater. It was no wonder that some descendants of ancient families could eat a small bowl every day. Even if they wanted to eat more, they would not be able to eat as the energy was too abundant. It's really a good thing. Xiaoping burped and touched his belly, feeling very satisfied. It had been a long time since he had eaten such a delightful dinner. Oh, that's right, Xiaoping. Corinne suddenly jumped out. After several days of continuous decryption, I finally cracked their password and found their voyage records from the chip of the Red Scarf Thieves' spaceship. With a swoosh, he waved his big hand, and a starry sky map appeared in midair. Many stars appeared on it. Some of the stars were connected by light rays, showing a starry sky map. From this starry sky map, it can be seen that there are 2 planets among them that they must stop at. Corinne pointed at the starry sky map. One is definitely their lair, the headquarters of the Red Scarf Thieves, and the other is most likely the production base of the crystal fragrant rice. I have checked the existing universe starry sky map, but found that this planet does not seem to have been registered. It is a planet that has not been discovered. This planet is very suspicious. It may be the place where they produce the crystal fragrant rice. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.